Hello and welcome to the Hawks Nest as we have a very special show on this fine Tuesday afternoon with a very special guest in the house, Coach Evans of Sip2Tally Films here on YouTube. A Ravens channel has been kind enough to come on over here into the nest, come out here behind enemy lines. I know he's not feeling super comfortable doing so. He's looking around. Man, I don't like these kind of birds. That's what I heard him say come in the chat. How you doing, Coach Evans?
I'm doing fine. I'm happy to come over and talk some football because this is one of the. I just did a stream and talked about the matchups for this week, and if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the three marquee matchups for the week. So I'm excited to kind of see how we match up. Similar record, teams both heading in the right direction, kind of feeling our way out and ready to kind of get into the nuance of both teams and see how we match up.
Me as well. And I tell you, there's times you do these behind enemy lines. It's maybe talking it up with a team like I'm going to be doing Washington next week. That's especially after today's trades. That's going to be some tough talks, But today it's exciting because your Raven squads has been a good one for a long period of time. I think your organization, I have a fondness for those that run their organizations smartly. And that, you don't always get the results. You don't always get the Super Bowl champions. I mean, there's a lot of luck and injuries and stuff coming up at the weird times, but you can do things fundamentally smart. And it really does feel like your Ravens organization, I'm hoping you'd be agreeing this, that they do this for the most part of this last 10 years. I know it's been a bit of time since the last Super Bowl win, but you have a couple Super Bowls in the last 30 years. It is on the back of really a strategy that has been kind of maintained throughout that period of time, has it not?
It is. They, like we talked about earlier, they do value over need. And sometimes we don't like it. And sometimes it plays out. But when you look at it from the long run, it kind of tends to work itself out. But, at times we're at odds with the powers that be because we want certain positions, but it always tends to work itself out with value. So it's a give and a take. And, in the long run, when you want sustained, I ain't gonna say excellence, but sustained success, because we rarely pick 15 and below. And we happen to get Kyle Hamilton at 14, but that's probably the highest pick we've had in a long time because we're rarely picking in that 10 and below range. So you want to keep that success and at least have a fighting chance every year. And so with that strategy, that's what you kind of get.
You got to be really good in that 15 and onward, because I'd be interested if you agree on this as well. Fans love to think because there's 32 first round picks that there's 32 first round worthy players, but it doesn't quite work like that. You're more into that tier 2-ish range, aren't you? By the time that you get into the teens and the late 20s. And just as we've learned this too, it makes it hard to draft. It's easy when you have in that top. It's easier when you're in that top 10. The true blue chips, separate. I'm glad you bring up the value versus need, because we for years here were going, why are we failing in drafts? We had these magical drafts with the Sherman drafts and the Wagners and the Wilson draft. You did so well there. And now through the late 15s and the early 2000s, the drafts just fall on their face continuously. And my general manager finally started to mention this offseason what they had done differently. But it's something that I think you guys have done at the foremost of all these strategies. What you guys have done, a physical team, usually a team that's going to run the ball, be balanced all the way through. But the drafting approach of value-based at the forefront of it has been what's allowed you, if I'm not, correct me, is not only allowed them to maintain the success, but been on the back again a couple of those Super Bowls throughout the time that you did a little bit back.
I'll even talk about the Kyle Hamilton pick. Kyle Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken, I wasn't in the room, but he was not supposed to be the pick at 14.
Yeah, right.
He just happened to be, he was the number one safety. And for him to make it to 14, they were like, we can't let him pass. We can't let him go. And initially, he didn't kind of start off, what we wanted him to be. His value, he started off, he was not a 14th pick. But now he's turned up, and he's now, to me, worth that pick because of, he's grown into the NFL game. He's, got his bearings about him. He's caught up with the speed of the game. And then he's 6'3", 6'4"-ish with all that range. And now you can do so many different things with him. He's a versatile guy. And he's warranted that number one pick. But at the time, you didn't, that's like, how can you pick this guy when you don't need a safety? We had two guys back there that were that we just didn't need a safety. But the value of picking the number one safety at 14, still being there, you couldn't pass him up. So
and to your point, the reason he drops has nothing to do with what he did on the football field.
Right.
It was all back to the 40 time. And that's such a paper thin reason to not go after a guy, and as opposed to what he's doing on the field, which should matter most. Right. But that's the age we're in. I'm sure you have it in your contingent as well, with folks that'll get too heavily caught up on the testing numbers matter and they should factor in, but they shouldn't carry the whole day. And on that one, his slip and his fall seemed to be that they were letting that carry the whole day and everything else. Meanwhile, these safeties are coming out slow as hell lately anyway, aren't they? I mean, they're all 4.65 guys now. So what are you going to do? I'm glad you bring him up. He is a very interesting safety to watch on tape. Single high, bring him up into the box, have him out in man coverage on a tight end. There's really just about nothing that he can't do, which is a real rarity for safeties, even in this split safety modern age of Vic Fangio defenses where they're asked to do multiple things. He really literally can do everything, can he?
Yeah, he's the glue on that back end for me, for what I think. And the ability to just not leave him as a deep safety, to put him in the box, let him, kind of slide in and play a little linebacker because he can cover your slot guy. He can be on top of your slot guy. He can blitz. He's probably our best blitzer, probably from that edge. And he's I'm gonna say he's the tight end eraser, but he does a good job of covering the tight ends because he's not that smaller safety where you can take because your tight ends running 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and you take a safety that's 5'11", you just box him out.
Yeah.
Well, with Kyle, you got a guy that can kind of, I'm gonna say stop those guys, but at least have a fighting chance versus those guys where you can't just throw a high point ball and expect them to come down every time. At least you got a fighting chance.
So they do as you guys do with Andrews, man. He goes up the seam and Lamar throws it 2 feet over his head. And it's like, man, our guy's not going to get to that. There's no way that we can stop that. And that's like touching the top of the backboard in basketball kind of, reach a little bit. But yeah, you can definitely do that. Did you had some success last year? We're going to talk about at the trade deadline. We had the trade deadline just end out about 2 hours ago. Would you have liked to have seen your Ravens be a little bit aggressive, or was there a player that you were looking at to say, go get this guy? We need this right now.
A lot of the flock wanted, they wanted Derrick Henry. I personally wasn't a fan of that. And there were different names they were throwing out. I wanted the O-lineman. I just wanted to secure the O-line. I wanted the left guard. There was no in particular name that I had in mind. And if we were to get a back, I didn't want a Derrick Henry type. I wanted a slasher type guy like Aaron Jones or Kamara. But
what about Cook?
Davin Cook, I don't know what he got left. Because he's not playing.
But Breece Hall's nice.
Had he got there and still been active, maybe. But Breece Hall has done so much that we don't know what he got because he's not playing. I've seen him take maybe 10 snaps. So I don't know if he's hit the cliff yet. Yeah, but he does have fresh legs. At least we can say that.
It's true. That's true. How much of a drop is it from JK to Gus and the Justice kid you got running out there too?
Between JK and Gus is just different styles. JK can pretty much do it all. And you saw, well, I don't know if you saw it, but last year, even basically on one leg, he was still
literally.
Producing. He's still
literally.
Producing.
He was dragging
his vision came back. Right. His vision came back on one leg. So I was hoping for him to be healthy with that new vision to just have a great year. And then what happened to him happened, unfortunately. But Gus is like a downhill guy. And, if we can stop him from going, east to west and just get him downhill, I think he'll be a load to tackle. But the thing is, justice for what we're trying to do, or what I think we're trying to do, because it goes up and down from week to week. I think justice is more so a guy that can fit what we do. And that's why I was saying the Aaron Jones or the Kamara, because you need a guy that can run inside zone and outside zone. Gus can run outside zone, but he's not very good with inside zone because of he don't really have that jump cut. He's not your number 9 at all. Your number 9 would fit perfect.
Oh, you'd love a 9, man. Now he'd be rolling out there. I mean, I think even Charbonnet wouldn't be too bad in that. And that's more what you have with Gus already. But so does Justice have it then? Do you think, to be a guy that can come close to? Can he get to 90% of what JK provides you then with his ability?
I think he is a little twitchier than JK.
Okay.
But as far as ball security and just having that grit, I don't think he has that vision.
I saw Ogunjobi got him from behind in the Steelers game.
Perfect punch. Everybody was on him about it, but sometimes no matter how secure you have it, if they get that perfect punch on you, it's coming out. And that's what some people don't seem to understand, because it was perfect placement. But he has the ability, he has some juice. I just don't think he's not an upper echelon back like what JK could have been had he been healthy.
Because I look at your Ravens team as a team that is quietly maybe in an AFC that is absolutely stacked, quietly it may be, when it's all said and done, that best team in this AFC, with, especially as, Chiefs aren't looking quite as strong and Bills are down those defensive guys, and they're trying to regroup a little bit, even though they're still very strong. The Dolphins are explosive, but I can't take them seriously for whatever reason. But your Ravens team, I think, do have that, and I just wonder, when I look at the running back position in the long term, being a team that wants to stay committed to the ground game, if that's not a place that, man, would have been nice to, above anything else up, that just right there, if you could have gotten that made you a little bit more warm and fuzzy about the rest of the year, with keeping that ground game. But I may be underselling a little bit on Justice too. So I'm not.
I think running back is, and with our injury history at running back, and hopefully I'm not jinxing it, I think because we got this name is going to probably make people crazy. We got Melvin Gordon sitting there waiting. And I know Melvin Gordon has had 35,000 fumbles.
I was going to say, you got fumbles with
with
your current guy, and that ain't going away with more Gordon.
We got Keaton Mitchell there too. Keaton Mitchell's a guy that once he gets healthy, he can take 6 carries and probably get you 60 yards. He is by far the fastest cat on the team.
Small kid, right?
Healthy. Yeah, from Eastern Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah, he can get you. He can take an inside zone if it's blocked right, and if he makes one person miss, he'll outrun everybody else. He's just that fast. The one carry he had so far, he by far looked like the fastest player on the field, but he's only had one carry, one touch. He was hurt. He's been hurt.
Oh, okay.
And then the healthy game, he got like a little jet sweep, and then he got hurt on special teams play, like maybe 2 plays later.
Is he healthy this game?
No.
Okay. I do like where you're going at with the thought process of leaning towards that guard. Your Ravens team has done a good job as well throughout the years, and the value-based approach is also keeping their offensive line very strong. And I see what you were trying to do there. You went out and got the cleanest center in the draft the year before. You got Staley over on the left side. You're trying to put a little Great Wall of China kind of thing together over there on that left side at that point. And I dig that, because I'd love to do the same thing with my team. I still, all these analytic folks, Coach, that love to get all hotty-toddy about their, skill position players. And now you build from the back to the front, not the front to the back. They love to go hard with that. I don't buy any of it. I'm still old school. I'm still cut from that cloth, where I say, no, you got to do it in the trenches. And if you invest in the trenches, you will get the returns back from the trenches. They will reward you for that investment. So I love that thought process going at that point. And that was a great pick for you guys, I thought, with that center, because there are those clean prospects. They tend to be the guards or the center type guys that you just go, I know what he is going to be. I know exactly what this guy's going to be. I know exactly what he's going to provide. And he'll do it from almost day one, right? Hasn't he out there? Linderbaum, I think it is.
Linderbaum, yes. And I thought Linderbaum was going to have issues with the bigger, stronger guys like a DJ Reader. Anybody that has one of those big, burly nose tackles that plays zero and is just as strong as an ox. And I thought that was going to be his problem. And it turns out that is his only problem. If you got a guy that just straight up, that's just like Thanos strong, he has an issue with those guys. But if you're trying to play him on the side and we run some kind of zone, he works them because of that wrestling background. Yeah. And even with those strong guys, that wrestling stuff kind of kicks in on him. Once he gets a feel for how strong you are, he can kind of adjust and adapt his technique to what you're doing. And does he win every rep? No. But he does a good job of adjusting it, because he's a small guy. I actually got to see him in person when I went to training camp, and he looks like he don't belong out there. That's how small he is.
He looked at Boston College. You looked at he's an okay size out there, but that's hard to tell. Oh, did he say Iowa? Was that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking Boston College. Man, gosh,
he's an Iowa center. Okay. They centers and O-line and tight end.
Well, those Iowa, they're all corn fed, and they got something in the water out there or something. Those guys come out, those linemen, they're always good. Iowa, it always seems like they're producing. But he's also good blocking on the move, right? He can kind of, you get him out in space with zone and have him go that. He's really good with that, which that's definitely getting to be a higher, we're getting away from a little bit more of the mauler type guys, it feels like, to more of these mobile guys with some of the lateral attacking in the run game, especially trying to get everything horizontal rather than vertical.
I think everybody's getting away from just those straight up big guys, because you can you take a big old school nose tackle, or you just run him left to right till he get tired.
Yeah.
And then you get him out of there, which is what, and then this is kind of off the topic, but this is what Nick Saban refused to do for so long. He wanted those big old guys in the middle, and that's why he had issues with Johnny Football and those guys that ran left to right. And he had to change his philosophy. And so then football started to change. And now you got O linemen that got to be able to move. You got D tackles that got to be able to move.
And it's like it's a cylindrical thing, right? Like it goes through here and it'll probably come back down to some point down the lane where it gets back to be big, but we're in a small man size, get him out in the space and move those linemen every which way but loose, pull this guy here, pull that guy there. Hell, they'll even pull it in pass protection now with these guys, right? You'll have a left guard come back out and take on a left defensive end back and like, whoa, you didn't see that in 1985. They wouldn't even attempt to try that type of thing. Well, how's been, just to flip it over to nose tackle, because another guy I looked a lot in the draft, and it was a draft 2 years ago that was not heavily stocked with nose tackles. That was the Jordan Davis one with Georgia, and then you got the number 2 one then in the 3rd round, being Travis Jones out of Connecticut. I know he's had a little bit of injury things there, but how is he coming along on that side of the ball?
Slowly. He'll show up every now and again and make plays, but and I talked about it yesterday. What Travis does a good job of getting off the ball. Then he has to find the ball. What he does a good job of displacing the guy in front of him, but when he displaces it, he makes the hole wider, if that makes sense. So if he can displace his guy, but he doesn't make the tackle, and then the back or whoever's carrying the ball just basically replaces him, and then they're on the second level. So once he can displace, and he needs to learn just to displace and find the ball. Don't just run upfield. But he, as far as just straight explosion, he's fine. Now, if you have a back like a Derrick Henry or a Gus that's not like a shifty type back, he can get those guys because they're gonna run right into him. But if you got one of those smaller scat backs that can see him at the last minute and make him miss, that's where the issue comes in at. But he's progressing. He's playing a lot better, and he's in heavy in the rotation because he's a big dude with good feet, and his ceiling is really, really high. I think he's going to be the next good one in Baltimore. I think that for him.
I felt that way with him coming out too, and I still find myself at that spot. The thing you like about him as well with this is that he does give you a little bit more pass rush than you would normally typically get from the nose tackles, or at least what they've been historically. I don't know where we're going with them now. They may be starting to become pass rush extraordinaire types, but at least, historically speaking, those guys tend to be that way. He gave you a little bit of that, I think, Connecticut, like 5.5 sacks or something his final year. And he's got a little bit. It helps you got Michael Pierce in front of him. He can allow him to develop a little bit more slowly. Pierce has gone in there, and you guys have been able to really a guy who I thought was maybe kind of starting to wind down in his career coming out of Minnesota, and you guys have kind of gotten a little bit more from him here. He
had his best game Sunday. Sack fumble, 3 TFLs. He had a great game Sunday. Didn't expect to get that out of him, and he doesn't, and they don't play beside each other. They back each other up. So I haven't seen very many snaps with them in at the same time, with the exception of maybe some goal line and short yardage type stuff. So they're doing a good job of rotating them guys out, trying to keep them fresh. And Travis is doing a good job of learning from Pierce, and seems like he's rejuvenated, with that size and that quickness. He's playing a lot better than I expected.
It's shocking me too, and this is another part of the evolution of this game right now, isn't it, Coach? The rotations on the line, and not just rotations, but okay, we're going to float everybody through on kind of an equivalency with their snaps. Nobody's going to be asked to carry 60-70% of the snaps defensively now. We got a mind to try to keep the 17-game season, 2 Thursday night games a year. You have to adjust some of your philosophy on this and how you use your guys. So it does take kind of a village on this one, doesn't it? On those lines.
And with all the travel the Ravens just had, we've seen every defensive end and defensive lineman we have play. With all the miles we've played from London to Arizona to all the different they've logged a bunch of miles.
Yeah.
All those guys have gotten, like Mike Pierce even said, his body is so out of whack. He woke up at 4:00 Sunday, 4 a.m. for a 4 p.m. game.
Hey, we lead the league every year in the most miles flown. And they sent our ass to Germany last year too on top of it. Like, really? And Germany now too? Goodness. Come on, But yeah, that's got to be that does got to be tough. But it is good to have that depth, and you've got even on your edges, Odawafe. How's he? I'm not going to say his name right, so y'all let you pronounce it. Odafe. He was a really nice prospect coming out. He seems to be your kind of the ascending star. Is that?
We ain't gonna call him that. He hasn't showed up yet. Okay. He's getting better though. He's getting better. He came out of Penn State, and the thing with I didn't like us drafting him. I didn't like us drafting him, and I'll say that because he didn't have any sacks coming out of Penn State. He was fast. He ran a 4.3. But that COVID year, everybody ran a 4.3 because it wasn't a real combine.
Oh, he had one of
Everybody
those
was putting
freakish
4.3.
pro days, didn't he? Didn't he have like one of those just like all-time pro days that just made everybody freak? Okay, yeah.
And so he had no sacks. I think he has maybe 9 or 10 total, but he's been hurt a lot too. But this is by far his best year as far as the eye test. Statistically, it may not be showing up, but as far as his ball get off, moves, having an impact, this has been his best year. He just needs to stay on the field. Yeah. Now, Clowney and Van Noy are the two guys that have pushed him to be like, look, you either got to play better or you're not going to play. Us picking up Van Noy has been a blessing.
Another guy like Pierce that you're thinking maybe at the end of the road, but there's a little more road left.
Right. Van Noy said he's representing for the older guys because he wants to, because a lot of GMs want to go younger when they're looking for back end help. And he said he wants to prove it that some of us older guys can still play. He said he's straight off the couch university. And he's came out there. I think he has about 4 or 5 sacks himself.
Yeah, he always gets it done. And I'd love you to explain something to me with Clowney because it perplexes me. Okay. I liked the guy for a very long period of time. He was here with us. I've got a chance at times to play some video games with him when he was here a little bit and chop it up a little bit with him. Loved his mentality. Why can't this guy find a home in the NFL? It seems like anywhere he goes, he performs well at. He's a complete player. Everybody I know gets caught up in the number 1 overall pick and the hit he had it with Michigan and that he's supposed to be generational and get it. Why can't, I mean, he seems to excel everywhere. And you guys are getting, peak kind of Jadavian Clowney right now as it stands. But why? What is it? Is it just the youth movement? Is it?
I think that expectation is travel with him. Like you said, that hit, then being the number 1 pick, I think that has they're waiting for him to be something that he probably was never going to be. And that's, I'm not saying that in a negative way.
Yeah.
They expect him to be Reggie White, and he was never destined to be Reggie White. He's best destined to be Jadavian Clowney, which is a really good football player.
Yeah.
He doesn't suck. He's really good. And I think with us, his fire has been relit. And I don't know if it's just coach speak or just him just playing a teammate role, but he really seems to love to follow Roquan. On multiple little sound bites, you know how the team released different little excerpts or whatever. He really seems to be taken in by the leadership of Roquan. Like he even said it, and he may have said this to another teammate another time, but he told him this: "You're the best leader that I've been around." And again, you say that you always kind of bump up the current team you're on.
Yeah.
But that was kind of profound to me because he played on some good teams. If I'm not mistaken, didn't he play with Wagner with you guys?
Yeah, yeah.
So that
and they were tight.
They were tight too. That's why I said that, because I know Bobby's a good dude and probably one of the best linebackers ever. For him to say that to Roquan, that stood out to me because I know I got a lot of respect for Bobby.
I think Bobby's kind of, as he's now the last couple of years, the vocal part of it has really emerged. But, he came up on that LOB team where it's like there was no oxygen in the room to get your voice out, even as the captain middle linebacker. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way that somebody had to be the quiet one, right? So somebody was going to, need to be. But I think especially with the Browns did, man, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think teams get a little bit too caught up on trying to turn him into a spinner. And I don't mean that in the naughty way. I mean that in putting him up over the guard, standing up, or putting him inside and kicking him in there. Was a big guy, can handle inside. Put him on the edge like you guys are. Put his hand in the dirt. Let him cook blind side, and he's going to be productive. But these coaches, damn, they keep move over here, move over here, and stick him over here. So where is he at his best? Which is out over here. I know he can be relatively effective. Is that a fair, would you say, assessment with him?
I agree, and I didn't think about it till you said it. But I think like the first 2 games, we did see him over the guard, but I don't think I've seen him over there since.
He said, "The hell with that. That's why I came here. I tried to get out of Cleveland because of this very reason, because they kept putting me in there, and it's not my game. And he's big enough to do it. He can handle a little bit, but he's had his best watching him when here was us for the year. We just stuck. Carroll said he's our Leo. We're going to put it out in that wide 9 kind of technique, blind side, and let him cook and go out, and he's going to be great with it. And he was for us. He was our by far most impactful defender that year, even though he only had 4 sacks. That had also an issue at times in his career being doubled and triple teamed, where that reduces down your production. You mentioned a guy that I thought I'd love to trade you guys made. We were maybe playing some footsies here a little bit with the Bears too last year on potentially making this trade, which was reaching out and being very aggressive at the trade deadline to go get Roquan Smith, a 2nd and 5th round pick you guys paid last year. Mm-hmm. He came into that defense, and it seems like he allowed everything to gel almost from the moment he walked in the door.
He did. He did. I was fortunate enough to see his first game with the Ravens in New Orleans, and like Patrick Queen had started to play better, had started to round into this version of Patrick Queen, but picking up Roquan elevated his game so much more. Like maybe seeing what an All-Pro looked like and seeing how an All-Pro worked and seeing what an All-Pro did took Patrick Queen like, oh, this is what it looked like. And so his game complemented Patrick so much, and Queen didn't have to do other people's job no more. He's like, I got a guy that knows that I can depend on, and I know is going to do what he's supposed to do, so I can just do my job.
Yeah,
I ain't got to play both spots for, because he had an older guy. He had Bynes there with him, and Bynes is damn near my age. So he kind of, I think he tried to compensate for Bynes and whatnot. But when Roquan came, he solidified that, and Roquan is way, like when Roquan got there, he already had 80-something tackles. It was week 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and Queen hadn't had that in a season.
Were they playing Queen as a Mike or a Will before his arrival, and what are they playing in post?
They were playing him as Mike.
Okay.
So, and then they brought in Bynes, and so they moved him to Will. Queen started playing better.
Yeah.
Then when they brought in Roquan and they left Queen at Will and left Roquan at Mike, then both of them basically just took off together.
Yeah. Well, it's so weird that this tracks so thoroughly for me too, because we have we have an exact situation mirroring exactly that over here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Jordan Brooks, you move him to the middle, you draft him as the middle linebacker of the future. You had to wait a couple years, you had him at Will, bounce him to middle, and just does not fit last year. You put the green dot on his helmet, he's struggling with the calls and the adjustments and getting people aligned and all that. Bobby comes back, takes all of that off of his plate. He slides now over to the Will, and he's just able to go out there and play fast, loose, and free. Because I mean, it's weird with Queen and Brooks, both picked back-to-back in the first round a couple of years ago. Kind of, I know there's some coming out with the theory was Brooks was the run-stopping linebacker, Queen was your coverage guy. That was the whole thing with them coming out on, pick your flavor. What do you want? Where the game's going. But has he been that guy, or is he a complete player that he's kind of rounded into being Queen next to Roquan?
I forgot about that. My bad.
Thank you, Mr. K.
I appreciate it, Mr. K.
That's my brother from another mother right there.
He was a little bit of everything. I don't think there was one thing he could hang his hat on, because he would, this is kind of backwards. He would be bad in the pass game. He'd miss tackles, and then he'd kind of blow reads and whatnot. And he kind of got better at all of those aspects gradually. So he was never a great run star. This is why he never had like a MO that you can hang his hat on. But he just got better at all those things gradually. And I think his biggest issue was tackling in space. And and I was looking at a PFF thing, and people love or hate PFFs, no gray area. Yeah, but his missed tackle rate starting off was like almost 20. Right now it's like 7.
Yeah.
Which is the best thing for him, because he can get there with anybody because of his speed. And I'm pretty sure Jordan's fast too, if not faster.
Yeah, same.
But he wouldn't break down, he wouldn't settle those feet, and he wouldn't wrap and go through. He just, any little slight movement by the ball carrier, he just go right by. Now he's getting to the point where he can get there, settle his feet, make the tackle. He's made some great open field tackles on some good elusive guys this year, and you can tell that he has worked on it. I don't know if it's tips from Roquan or just working on it in practice, or he just settled down. But his tackling thing is, which was the biggest issue to me, is, I ain't gonna say it's gone away, but it is
not a glaring weakness.
A lot better.
Yeah. I think that's a problem NFL wide right now too. This is these CBAs that they've negotiated the last 2 times over have all called for less two-a-days, less padded practices.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes, I think, almost a league-wide issue outside of those outliers as far as tackling, because you just can't work on it. The only way to get better at tackling is to live do it. You can't do it with the stupid dummy there they got the automatic dummy they're moving on the controller, and they're like, go tackle. I'm like, not the same. Not the same as Derrick Henry coming downhill at you with a stiff arm he's leading with. It's a little bit of a different, it doesn't exactly set you up for that. But he has been playing well. And same thing with Brooks, too. I mean, Brooks has sort of kind of cleaned up what was his glaring weakness on his end. It was coverage.
Mm-hmm.
The man just struggles in zone. It'll be the interesting place to see if your Ravens try to attack us in this. And if I was a Ravens offensive coordinator coming in this game, I would be testing that. And that'd be with specific flood zone concepts. He wants to kind of take the cheese on the first guy, pulls him up out the zone, and then you just hit it right behind it, and it's going to be there kind of all day. And it's cleaned up this year. He's gotten way better with it, and Bobby's presence maybe has helped with that. But I think with both Queen and Brooks, the guys drafted back to back, and also having kind of similar career trajectory arcs.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to get paid this offseason? You guys going to pay him?
Want to and there's this thing in our group. Like, I've been defending him since he was not playing well, and it's fans and other, our content creators were not saying he needs to go, whatever. But now that he's playing well, people are on the bandwagon. I just don't think we're gonna have, because we played Roquan, I don't think we're gonna have the money. We may franchise him. I don't know how that's gonna go, because then feelings get involved. I feel like we got to find a way to keep him, because him and Queen, Roquan and Queen side by side, they can push for that number one spot as far as best linebacker duos. If not. And the reason I like them as being 1A, if not 1B, they don't have what Greenlaw and Werner have in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have Bosa and the guy from the Eagles, and now Chase Young in front of them.
Yeah, that helps.
So I think they do a lot. I think they do more with less.
Oh, maybe they will be able to, if you look at the balance structure on your cap going forward. I mean, you don't have a lot thrown onto that defense across the board. Marlon's getting older. I'm sure he's getting closer to the end on that. And maybe there will be a willingness to open that up in this case. And they've got to, at least with your nose tackles in there, a little rotation. They kept relatively clean. What about the secondary here? I know we talked about the safety, but how are the corners holding up, including Humphrey? How's that the other safety rolling out there next to him? Has that been
a pleasant surprise? I don't know if you know it, but our starting guy, the guy we paid, is hurt, which is Marcus Williams. We signed him from New Orleans a couple years ago, but he's hurt, so he's not playing. But his backup, Geno, is leading the league in interceptions with 5.
Geno Stone. It's a hell of a name.
Yeah, AKA Chico.
Chico.
He's leading the league in interceptions with 5. And so with that going, our corners, I thought our cornerbacks was going to be our worst position. I really did. We brought in Roquan Smith. I thought he would be like a guy to kind of replace Marcus Peters. Roquan Smith barely plays.
Yeah.
We got Arthur Mollett, who I did not have any idea who's playing like that third cornerback spot, playing that slot corner. You got Brandon Stevens, who I think has 4 interceptions, maybe 3, who's holding it down as probably one of the most targeted cornerbacks in the NFL, because a lot of people don't throw at Marlon. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those targets go to Geno. I mean, not Geno, go to Brandon Stevens, and he's holding it down. I mean, people get catches on him, but for the most part, he's holding it down. And when you make a mistake, he capitalizes. But for the first time in a long time, he's been able to play one position and learn the ins and out of that position.
And you don't flip your corners, right? So they stay strong side, weak side.
It depends on what you got at receiver, and what you got at receiver, we probably won't, because you got 3 guys that can go.
Yeah,
you got 3 guys that can go, so it probably don't matter if we flip them, because I know what's over there. Being a Mississippian, and my first game at a certain school was against a certain tall receiver that y'all have.
Wait. Oh, hold on. I need to hear this story. Come on, what happened?
So
did he do the Sanders talking about Bo Jackson move where
I'm from Mississippi, and so I was a high school coach, and so leaving my hometown, going up north to coach at another school with a friend of mine. We had our spring game, and so I'm talking to one of our receivers. I was the offensive coordinator, and we were talking about something, and I hear a doop, 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 doop behind me. So I turn around, and this guy just whams behind me, and I had to look up. It's DK on the fly. And he scores or whatever. I'm like, man, who is that? And so, because I don't know who it is at the time. And so we get the ball and we I don't know if we score or whatever happens. But the very next play, they throw another bomb. It's DK. So right now it's 14-0 and we ain't played but like 6 minutes of the game. I'm like, who is this kid? And so by now I get introduced to DK Metcalf. And so from that point on, I know who it is.
Oh, he's been so much fun for us too. And I'm sure you have this happening with you at times with guys that you like on the team, but you'll have fans that'll start to be down on a guy for certain weird, odd reasons. And he's chippy and he's get some personal foul penalties. But boy, one of the tough spots of road that I've had to cover this year as a content creator in regards to DK is that we've got this tiny contingent that's so over it with the penalties things that they start talking about trade. And I'm like, you guys are insane. There's no way we let this guy go. He is too unique, too great, and we haven't maximized him out. You know, you see the way that like AJ Brown's being maximized out with Philadelphia versus what he was with Tennessee. And you're going, we can kind of do that similar thing if we can get a little bit more, you know, consistent offensively across the board to pull it off. But it's not to me a DK problem. It's an offensive problem, you know, first and more. But he was a freaking max. What does the corner say when he comes out as he's given two 9 routes over the top? Because I know the coaches are in his face like, you got to stay over the top. And he's like, I'm doing my best, coach. Was it something like that?
Honestly, the coaches don't say anything.
That's almost worse.
What can you say other than get back?
Yeah.
All you can say is, I told you to get back. And you kind of have mean that because it don't matter. Because you running a 5'6" corner out there on DK that was like 6'3", 6'4". So you can get back if you want to. They're still going to throw it up there and he going to catch it. It's crazy. That year was crazy. I had to deal with DK, AJ Brown, and Jeffrey Simmons.
Oh my God!
In the same year.
Jesus. All on different teams.
All on different teams.
Okay. Who was tougher, AJ Brown or DK to deal with?
AJ.
Oh, okay.
AJ. Because DK didn't have the shiftiness to, you know, DK couldn't take a hitch and do what it is. AJ could, as long as the ball got in AJ hands, you probably gonna score.
He could house anything.
He could do it on a hitch. He could do it on a slant. He could do it on a 9. He could do it on a jet sweep. You could snap the ball to him. It didn't matter with AJ.
Yeah, so. Just fast and elusive as hell.
But I was gonna say about DK, if you get rid of DK, watch the coverage change on JSN and Lockett. Just watch the coverage change.
Yeah, I've been making the argument. It's and it's something that this is the tough part, is that there's not a stat you can track something. It gets harder for people to put the respect on it. And so, you know, I showed it a couple of years ago. It was about even 2 years ago where DK was second in the league in being double teamed. He was 1 percentage point behind Devontae Adams that year. That was the year that Adams had like 440 catches. And I kept telling people, because they go, well, he only has about 1,000 yards a year and he only gets us like 90 and we're paying him this price. And I go, well, you have to understand with this though, is that he is pulling the attention away in the secondary and that he is commanding these double teams, that coaches are scared to death. You may not think DK is all that good. You may think he's overrated, but guess what? 31 NFL defensive coaches around the league don't think that, because they commit to double teaming him. If that narrative was true, they would not be double teaming him. And I don't think I got very far. It's because there's just there is the anti-sentiment that I just don't get, and it drives me crazy because it's hard enough to find great players. You just, without having people trying to subtly push them out of town.
Everybody looks for numbers. Everybody looks for numbers. They do.
Yeah,
and football is the impact is sometimes is not numbers. But when you talked about we talked about Michael Pierce earlier. His impact, like he had 5 tackles this game. For a defensive tackle, that's a great game. For defensive tackle. Because their impact is holding the double team. It's a thankless position. If you can command double teams as a defensive tackle, you did a great job. Because that means the linebackers don't get all the tackles. Michael Pierce had 5 tackles. Both linebackers had 11.
Yeah,
so that means the middle of your defense did their job, and his job is really just to make a center and guard block him. You don't get a stat for that. No,
it's the most thankless job on the defense. It really is, because you are doing the epitome of just dirty work down there. But it's testament, right? If you can make tackles out of that and not only be immovable, but then actually split the double teams occasionally and then hustle down and do that, that's just that's insane value at the nose tackle position, because you really do set it with just don't get pushed back and hold the point of attack with these two guys. Please, by God, do that. Let's go over a little bit to the offensive side of the ball here. First thing I want to ask on the last thing on the defensive changes, it looks like you're a little bit more, there is some blitzing, but looks a little bit more of a commitment to front four and rolling with the coverages, squeezing those windows on the back end. course, this goes very much opposed to how you guys were running before. I mean, man, Wink Martindale, baby.
Night and
Then
day.
light it up.
Night
Light
and
it
day.
up, right?
So with Wink, you were going to see blitzes and man coverage. You were going to see it. Appreciate you, Wanda John. You were going to see blitzes and man coverage. But with Mike, you're going to get a lot of post-snap changes. You'll get a 2 high look, and it'll end up being 1 or man, or you'll get a single high look, and it'll end up being 4 or 2. So with Mike, you're getting a lot of different changes. You're getting a lot of games up front, and those games could be with the defensive ends and the tackles. It could be with the 2 tackles. It could be with a linebacker and a tackle. He's doing a good job of just mix. I've been so impressed with Mike over his 2 years. And I didn't want him. I can't even front. I didn't want him. I thought it was not necessarily a nepotism hire because he had worked for the Ravens. I just thought it was kind of like a friendship type deal because they sent him to work with the brother at Michigan and then brought him right back. I thought it wasn't gonna work, but he has shut my mouth. He's doing a great job, and the communication issues that we used to have, we don't have anymore. And I think part of that is him, and part of that is Roquan. But you'll get some of anything out of Mike, and we're starting to get pressure with 4, which I think what any NFL team wants.
Yeah,
not have to blitz as much.
And it starts with, to get there, you got to have the investment, which you guys have done. The topping off with Clowney, Adwafa's a development inside there. Even having a guy like the backup nose that we were talking about, Trent, coming off the bench to be able to give a little bit of pressure in there too. You know, Martindale is what I call the fans' ideal defensive coordinator coach, because he's the one where every fan's answer on defense is always blitz more. I'm guilty of it too, coach. We all been there, right? Like, were you at your wit's end with Wink at that point? Were you ready to go to more of this isn't where you can't do this because miscommunication stuff you talk about? That's, you're blitzing here, blitzing there. There's a lot of extra details back in. This has got to be done. One guy messes up his detail and it's toast. Were you kind of at your wit's end there? Were you ready for something new, or did you like what he brought to the table in his approach?
I was, because if we had the corners to do it, that'd be different. We didn't have the corners. Marcus was hurt. Marlowe was one guy, and they just were they were avoiding him. We just didn't have the corners to just play man all the time.
Yeah.
And he just, like, he didn't care. Like, he refused to adjust to the personnel. He just constantly would run his calls, and if we didn't get there, the DBs were toast. And
what's your preference then between, if you have to choose, where you've got 2 clever corners in a Martindale scheme that you can operate off of, or a scheme like this where you can get some relatively good pressure up front with the front 4?
Give me what we have now.
Okay.
Even with the good corners, give me what we have now, because that way those guys can get eyes on the quarterback through the receiver, and they have more chance to get picks and less chance to get PIs.
Okay. Yeah.
Because PI is becoming just as important as them catching the damn football now.
Yeah. And when you're getting into a position where you're man coverage, you're oftentimes going to get grabby there when you start to get, he's got to step on me, and instantly that hand starts coming up and reaching out and pulling on those jerseys. But I do love that perspective. Understand. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was the thing I was kind of want to ask you on this too, is where's the preference at? Because we find ourselves on my defense right now, a little bit of, we're doing similar stuff to you in that I think I lean into saying, what you got to be defensively rather than blitz heavy or not blitz heavy, or just getting the front 4 and everybody dropping his own. What you got to be is multiple and varied. And you can't show these quarterbacks the same look. You've got to just kind of be spinning through a little bit rather than here's our identity. We were cover 3 for 10 years. It's cover 3 or nothing. Cover 3 or broke, right?
That cover 3 with the LOB was, ooh.
It was nice. Somebody was saying recently, I don't know if you buy this, that the cover 3 defense set defenses back 10 years because everybody started to try to replicate the defense and nobody had the athletes or talent to make the simplistic nature of it work.
But you can't play country cover 3.
Huh?
You can't play country cover 3. You got to have nuances in it.
You do, but that was the problem, is all these people took it up and they just tried to go, cover 3. That's what they're running 80% of the time. Let's just do that. And that was sort of the application of it. It seemed like, and it seemed like in its simplicity, you had offenses going to complexity at the same very time. And so it's like, it almost kind of feels like a little bit this year, we're seeing scoring down and red zone offenses being inefficient. Coach, you buying? Are the defenses maybe catching up a little bit back now to the offense? Are they starting to get a little bit, maybe more of that evolutionary process of growth that we saw from offenses, pre-snap, post-snap motion, that type of stuff?
I think the defenses are catching up, but I think more athletes are starting to play defense now.
Yeah.
Like you're starting to see like the guy I mentioned we talked about before we came on, Woolen with 6'3", that fast. You're starting to see like let's take Aaron Donald. Where is he fat at? Nowhere.
No.
You look at a Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons could probably play running back or receiver.
Yeah.
You take right. Those guys are starting to play defense now, and so they're just. But our old linemen are still looking the same.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, look at Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett out there doing the crossover moves like he playing basketball, then going beating the center.
Yeah. That's so scary. It freaks me out when I see that.
They just getting better and better on that defensive side, and you taking those younger guys that are doing more nuance and intricate and new stuff like Mike, and I'm sure there are other guys out there, D'Amico Ryans and other guys, and they just, offense got to evolve, but the defense, you got to give them their credit. They're starting to evolve, and they're getting guys to actually want to play defense now. And to keep it 100, defense is a lot harder to play in the NFL right now because we all want to see scoring, and they have catered the rules to offense.
Oh yeah, in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the quarterbacks? How you call things on the back end? All the way around. That is absolutely the truth. And I do see it the same way, man. I think that this is where these guys are catching up. I think some of it's a little bit of those, running backs looking out, going, "Hey, man, those guys aren't getting paid anymore. I'm gonna go be a linebacker. I'm gonna go get paid. I'm gonna go be a linebacker and go get paid. Screw this $2 million a year and bust my body up for nothing, type thing. That glamour position ain't so glamorous no more." We got a couple donos here. Let me catch up on these. Hunter Biden's crack pipe. Thank you for the $5 donation. Says Ravens going to get smacked by the Seahawks harder than Ray Rice smacks his baby boy. Oh, Hunter coming in with the gloves low. Says, I was going to tell another Ray Rice joke, but it hits too hard. I don't fire shots, but I can't guarantee my chat might not throw a few low blows out there.
They'll swing back. They probably in my chat box swing back.
They're going at him too. Thank you, Hunter, though. I appreciate the $5, man. And yeah, that was a crazy situation there on that one. Definitely finished off on Ray. Ski Nation, thank you. And Hunter, sorry about the late on some of these donos, acknowledging them. We got deep in our conversation. I just got kind of lost there. Ski Nation, thank you for the $10 donation. Says Ravens are scary good. If Seattle can pull off a win against a Super Bowl contender this good, it will legitimize the team for real, which speaks volumes for the Ravens. Should be the Sunday nighter. Yeah, boy. I know that, I'm not a fan of 10 a.m. games anyway for us on the West Coast. It sucks getting up first thing and you're just, your boys aren't awake and they're, come on. Because it's 10 a.m. their time. Try to play a football game at 10 a.m. But I'd like to see this would have been in a game that I would have loved to see flexed out prime time.
Or even 4.
Yeah, even 4. Even 4, just going a little bit later with it. But Ski Nation brings up something that I do feel like this coming into this game. I think that when I looked at the schedule this offseason, Coach, I said that the 2 toughest games to be on the schedule for us, and this is with us having Niners twice and the Eagles at home and on the road at Cowboys. And I said, no, the 2 toughest games on the schedule are going to be on the road to the Bengals, on the road with the Ravens. And I think right now as it stands, this may end up being our toughest game this year when it's all said and done, when you consider all the factors at play. So I agree with Ski, man. If we do pull off this win, I think it is certainly one of those statement wins for us that we feel like coming out, because even when I'm going to do my prediction show later tonight on another stream, I'm going to be giving you guys probably the slight edge on this one, just for note and everything else. I think we are close teams. I think it'll be a close fight, but I do think you guys are legitimate. And like I said before, very quietly, a team not being talked about who could ascend into that marker of being the best team in the AFC when it's all said and done with that first round bye.
Have you played the Bengals yet?
We did. Yeah, it went down to the wire. We just couldn't get a final drive with Geno and the boys at the end there. They got the ball down to like 9-yard line and had 4 chances at it and just couldn't put it through. They are scary. Yeah, because people get caught up on the early season thing, but Burrow had the calf, and we got him back when the calf was 100%. Our defense really held it down against him, but I think that's a complete football team. They've been good for a couple of years. The Jesse Bates thing hurts. Yes. That's a big loss for them out there in that secondary, but they're still really well put together, really well coached, and they don't tend to beat themselves. Yep. So I think they're going to be in that hunt too. I still think the Ravens are a little more well suited overall to even be over the top of them, but those are 2 teams that everyone, it's all about the little bit of Chiefs, and you hear about the Bills and people getting caught up a little bit with Jacksonville at times here. But don't forget about these two teams out there in that North. Your only problem in your division is y'all beat up on each other.
Yep. Every year.
Y'all gonna be biting fingers off and tearing off ears by the time you get to the playoffs, man. Just bandages and casts. That's all you get by the time you get to that spot. But Bengals are tough, no doubt about it, man. They were every bit as good as I thought they were going to be going into that game. They're the real deal. Didn't you guys catch them early with?
We beat them game 2. Game 2. Yeah, he played, but I don't think they scored over 10 points. I don't remember the exact score, but I think we held them under 10. But we beat them.
He needs his mobility in the pocket. Not that you guys didn't beat him fair and square with it. It's just that, but he needs his mobility in the pocket to be at his best.
But last year we should have beat them in the playoffs with half a team.
Yeah.
So Mike has done a good job scheming those guys up. We had Snoop at quarterback. A lot of guys were out, and they barely. If it wasn't for Snoop trying to dive over the top and fumbling the ball, they had a 99-yard fumble return.
Or did he hit to Walter Payton?
Well, he tried. It was a goal line. He tried to reach over the pylon. They knocked it out and ran it back for a touchdown. So that's how they won.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, we had him on the ropes.
Did last year was between me, you, and the wall? We won't. You don't have to tell your chat on this. Could Lamar played? Was that because the contract hadn't been done?
I don't know. Because the same injury that he had, the guy for the center for the Memphis Grizzlies still hadn't played.
Okay.
The same injury, same exact injury.
Yeah. You can see from that far out.
Hurting him because he's taller and he probably hurts him a little bit more. And basketball is more of a bouncy thing, but the same injury, he hadn't played yet. And it could be contract and he want to risk it. I don't know. Some people say he should have played. I don't know. I wouldn't have played.
Yeah. I wouldn't have either. You got to he had earned the contract at that point. I mean, I thought the Ravens got a little cute at times and now it was hard. His own agent, mom agent. I know that I can't come in this knowing I know all the particulars going, but in general terms, the man was an MVP. You reward quarterbacks at this age if they get that spot. I could understand him being, but I did wonder. There was a little bit of a thing of going, is he maybe going, oh, you're not giving me the contract? Huh? Is that what you're not going to do? You're not going to pay me? Huh? Okay.
It shouldn't have been that hard.
No, it shouldn't have.
It shouldn't have been that. He had won MVP unanimously, which I don't think but one other guy's done that.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have been that hard. It should have been, how much you want? Okay, huh?
Yeah. Especially when we're watching other teams throwing out contracts to these guys very early and prematurely, like your Goffs, like your Wentz. I mean, go down the list and down the line. I mean, Kyler Murray's and Jalen. Pay the man. Don't get cute.
You should have got it early. A smart person would have got it early.
Yeah, agreed. That's what they do is that they go, let's squeeze that. This is that whole 5th year thing with the first round picks that I just don't buy into, where I go, don't think about it like that. If the guy performs out, the only way you're getting to that 5th year is if he's not been doing well. Mm-hmm. That's the only way you're really getting there. And if he performs in the first 3 years, you're paying him. That's the way that works. They're going to want to be rewarded. They're not going to be like, oh, I'll wait 2 years. But you get these organizations, Cowboys did this with Dak, where I didn't think they should pay Dak. I thought Dak, that was a real supporting cast thing. And we're going to get to this as a question soon about supporting cast for a superstar quarterback. But, they stretched that thing out on Dak too, and then end up having to pay the piper. And now they're, moaning and complaining about the fact that, oh my God, the cost on Dak's college, we can't build the team back up around. It's like, well, you waited and stretched it as far as you could. You grabbed that extra year out a bit. Niners had this happen with Bosa. How do you end up with $35 million a year for Bosa? Because you pushed one year too many on that before you decided to get the deal done.
Yep.
But Ski Nation, thank you for that donation, brother. And I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great game. I really do look forward to it. But I do think you guys might have a little bit of an edge on us. Megan, who I want to thank you, Megan, for hooking me up here with Coach. It was her suggestion that put me onto you on your channel and whatnot. So thank you, Megan, my main mod here in the chat, and as well for the $5 donation. She says, welcome to the nest, Coach. 2 of my favorite creators in one place at one time. Love it. Love it. Well, I appreciate you for that, Megan, and I'm having a great time here with this Sip2Tally. I'd love to do, of course, be able to do this in the future. I got some more shit I want to chop up with you, but having a great time with it. And thank you, Megan, for putting me on you on this.
And had a great time in our chat boxes. Not only me, but other Ravens content creators. She comes over there and shows a bunch of love. So I was, pleased to get the email from you because I knew exactly how it happened.
Oh yeah, I said, hey, who we got on this, Megan? Because like I've gone through some of these channels doing prior weeks of which one, and and some people don't respond, some do. It gets hard, but reach out to him. Yeah, he'll be good on it. So appreciate you for doing that, Megan, and thank you again to Coach for coming on today, man. And I can attest with folks with Coach right now. He's running 24/7 during the year right now. Your head's spinning. You're trying to think, what's next video? Get this thumbnail, direction, title. So I totally get that. Let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball here a little bit. I think we've covered defense pretty well. The offensive line's in pretty good shape. Seems like you're doing a good job of getting some of these elder statesman players who a lot of people would think don't have anything, maybe a little bit left in the tank, but then you're not only getting something left in the tank, but getting them to play well. We talked about Pierce on the other side of the ball and a couple of the other guys, but then you're also getting it out there from Morgan Moses.
Morgan Moses, yes. Morgan Moses, I thought he was done with the Jets. He's come over, and what we're asking him to do, he's pretty good at. We're not asking him to be this sheer mauler. He's a good puller. He's okay in pass pro. He does have his brain farts, but he's okay. They have a good chemistry going on. I think we have one weak link, but we're doing stuff to kind of cover him up. Yeah, because he's right beside Ronnie. Yeah. So, and we'll see. Maybe he'll get better. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But I just got a personal vendetta again. Maybe he ain't the weak link. And I just don't like him.
PFF backs you up on that. Simpson, is that?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. They back you up on that. He's the lowest rated lineman on there, so it tracks. And like you said with PFF, I'm not a PFF ultimate guy, but like you say, there's that place where there's no in between ground here, where it's like, well, what I think you got to do is that you take as much data in as you can in making your assessments. And so that is the eye test, that is the all 22, that is the PFF scores, because we're not sitting there grading every individual play of a player, and there's some leeway there, but it's still a point of value. It's still a metric that you shouldn't just toss away just because it. And the NFL teams across the league aren't. They all got analytic guys and PFF guys in their deals. So, but yeah, Simpson is the place that hopefully we can go out there and attack with our newly arrived Leonard Williams. He can just go after that, and maybe he can attack that center you said had a hard time with his. What do you think about that trade for us as a man with no doubt?
Well, when I saw it, I have a little group chat that I'm in with a bunch of Ravens fans, and we're kind of exclusive. When I saw it, I sent them an explicit. I was like, why can't the trade deadline be next week? Because I know exactly where he's going to go. He's going to play 3 technique on the offensive left, the defensive right. I know exactly where he's going to go Sunday. So
Carroll said 3 technique in his presser when they were talking about it. Yeah, he's got that 3 technique.
He's going right in front of Simpson and Linderbaum like ASAP.
Oh yeah. So I guess I don't have to ask you. You do like Williams then as a player?
Oh yeah, I like him and Sexy Dexter next to each other. They were doing work for New York, so I'm sure he'll come in and fit what you guys are doing with, because the back end has to work well with the front end. I'm a firm believer of that. Even when Warren Sapp introduced me to that concept, whenever he used to work for the NFL Network, I've been a firm believer of it. Because I was one of those guys that was skill guy heavy. But I'm like you, it starts with the front end on both sides, the interior D line and the offensive line, and then you work your way out. And
that's where
you got that, you good.
I agree with it. I think that I can understand there being a rise with some of the skill position players and secondary guys as they become more important. But it's like everything. Everything gets a little bit over pushed a little bit too far and too extreme, and you get lost for some of the fundamental things you still need down there that can have that kind of impact. So I'm the same way, and we'll see how that battle is going to go this week. Do you think they overpaid too much? I like to ask this question to you because you're a person that doesn't have that dog. You don't have bias on this. So is it a move that a contender should make to go for from your standpoint, or is that, man, we value picks out here in Baltimore?
I think at that point, I think it's a move you make because, especially with the situation you're in, there's a chance now, especially with a certain team and quarterback heck and losing 3 in a row, you got the doors open. Yeah. And you make your run right now. You make your run, you gamble, you got to gamble sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes when you gamble, sometimes you hit. And this is the opportunity to do that. You're if I'm not mistaken, you guys are leading the division right now, right?
We are indeed. That's right.
Shoot your shot.
That's why I thought it was okay to do too, because I thought you gotta read the room. You guys in the AFC are in a murderer's row territory. In your division alone, you got 3. You look at the NFC. What's the NFC right now? Eagles, Niners, maybe Cowboys,
maybe, and you guys
and us.
Yep.
I mean, that's as wide open as it gets. Why not? If you're in that mix, just in that mix alone, why not go out there and make that move? Did you like the Niners with the Chase Young trade?
Yeah, I like them, but I put a tweet out earlier that they probably should have traded for a quarterback.
That's the thing that their fan base is even saying is, okay, it's good, but this secondary, quarterback, offensive line, these were really the current patent issues that are on the books.
I think they straight defensively.
Yeah. Oh, they're tough. I mean, Young's going to help them. That is no doubt. I mean, and they got Gregory now as a rotational guy in there. I mean, we got a hell of a like 6-7 game schedule coming up here, but it's aggressive. They saw our move and they said, okay, we're going to one up you on this one a little bit. And they came in with Chase. It'll be a hell of a fight. But yeah, I still wonder if they might have that dominant pass rush, but still secondary issues, still an offensive line, especially a wounded Trent, 36-year-old wounded Trent. Maybe not their full strength. How are these receivers doing? I saw Odell out there doing Odell tantrum things last week on the sideline, throwing his helmet, angry.
Not for what he used to do them for. Not for what I'm used to doing for. I think this was because like every time he has opportunity to get the ball, he gets PI. He drew 3 PIs last week. Didn't have a catch. Didn't have a catch at all, but he drew 3 PIs. 2 of them led directly to touchdowns.
Okay.
So he's working his way back to. He'll never be the old Odell. Never be that guy. So he's just trying to get in the mix, because he has to have the ball at some point, and for it to play that many snaps and to have 0 catches, and then every opportunity you get, it's a PI. With the exception of one, he had one that was a back shoulder that was. It would have been a great catch if he caught it, but with as good as Odell hands are, you kind of expect him to catch everything. So in our eyes, he probably should have caught it. That was frustration because he just can't get in a groove, and every now and then he'll make a catch and break out or whatever. But that's a frustration just trying to get back to what he was. Keep in mind he missed a year and a half of football.
Oh yeah.
And he's just trying to get back to us. So I don't think it was the frustration like what Devontae Adams is going through.
Yeah,
but it still was frustrating, and I don't think he has any issue with anybody on the team or like I need Durham Ball or Keyshawn Johnson throw me the damn. But it's just trying to get back in a groove, trying to figure out how I can still be effective because I'm not athletically what I used to be. I need to get into my bag mentally and see how to get open more and be effective. And maybe they need to use him a little different. Maybe we don't need to have him outside all the time. Maybe we need to work him in the slot some. Maybe we need to put him in motion, run him on crosses. Maybe, just find creative ways to get him the ball. And he don't have to have 9, 10, 11 catches or even targets. 4 or 5. Because we got younger guys that we got enough targets. We just spread the ball around.
But do you think he's going to come in and have, by what you're saying, I'm sort of reading is that you feel like at some point this year, he's going to come out there and give you, I mean, even driving 3 PIs alone, leading to 2 touchdowns, he's having an impact. So you feel that impact is coming this year with him at some point, even if it hasn't quite synced up to this point.
Yeah, I told the guys yesterday, week after the bye week 13, that's when I expect to see the guy that I like. Yeah, and I was a huge Odell fan before he signed with Baltimore. And so the guy I want to see, I expect to see him after week 13.
Well, I think too, you can't, because there are a lot of people who would question Odell before, let's say going to the Rams. I think a lot about, does he love the game? Does he love being a football player, or is he actually love football? Mm-hmm. And the story that stood out to me with him going to the Rams is the medical staff looked at that knee and they went, this is a ticking time bomb, Odell. This thing's going to blow up at some point. We don't want to sign up for this. And he signed the waiver. He said, I don't care. Let me go out there and go get my ring. And he helped that team go get that ring. I mean, he went down the Super Bowl, but I mean, he went out there and balled out for them. He didn't go out there and play tentative or scared or whatnot. He went out there and really helped that team, put him over the top a little bit in his addition, because their receiving core was kind of hurt. So there's some hope there, I think, on him as a player in that. But no doubt about it, that knee was twice over ACL'd. They said the first surgery was messed up, I think they said. And that just sounds gnarly, having an ACL messed up surgery. That just sounds...
And then playing a whole season with no ACL.
That's right. It makes the cartilage in my knee quiver a little bit, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like you see a guy getting hit in the nuts, and you're like, oh. Yeah. We got another donation here from Seahawks Gaming. Says, didn't the Ravens draft Trenton Simpson?
We did. He's a special teamer where he needs to be until we see what we're going to do with Patrick Queen. he has the same problem Pat Queen had. He's too fast. He's too
well,
fast.
and he's an interesting case study. Here's another thing too. We talked about value. This is the bitch about doing the value-based approach on things, isn't it, Coach? That that's going to lead you sometimes to taking a position you got too stacked up in front.
Yep.
And that's just what I say with this, and I think you're probably the same way. You don't get to do the straddle the two lines thing, because that's what people want to do is they go, we'll just do both. Do it on like the first round pick will be value, and then the second round pick will be need, and then the third. No. It's a philosophy-based deal. You either go left or you go right. Yep. You got to pick a lane. That's the way this works. And
if you straddle the fence, you'll be picking 1, 2, or 3 all the time.
That's right. That's right. Football requires you to go, this is where we want to functionally go to. This is what we're tangibly choosing to do, not like kind of happenstance to, but you want to go get this done. And so that pick right there is a direct relation to it. And it could pay off. You got to have the negotiations with Queen go down. You got to have a little bit of insurance there if Queen does happen to walk. Last year, you had guys like Tremaine Edmonds and Jermaine Pratt, who are good middle linebackers in the sport, good linebackers in the sport, but not Roquan Smith types, right? They're not Fred Warner. They're still getting paid 17, 18 million a year.
Right.
That or Trent Simpson, maybe a bit of, we use those assets to other places, having Trent then ascend next year. But he got played weird at Clemson. They did one thing one year with him. Then the next year, they finally moved him middle linebacker. Then he was kind of trying to figure out, didn't have a natural feel for it, but he wasn't just purely at Clemson as a Mike.
His worst position at Clemson was in the box.
Yes.
When I did film on him, I thought he was a better edge and a better, like a alley player. And then when they stuck him in the box, he just didn't look natural there. So
he's not a Mike.
To draft him for that, I would hope something shakes where we don't have to use him there, or at least hopefully he's learned the position by the time we have to have him there, because he didn't look natural in the box.
He's definitely a will to me. There's no Mike to his, and that's not a slant on him because he's still a very athletic, like you say, fast as hell player. There's a lot he brings to the table, but not a Mike. I mean, that final year of college tape was pretty. I mean, this is why he dripped from being a first round prospect going into that year to dipping down into being a second round guy, is because he fit into that role and went, whoa. But
losing Venerables hurt him too.
Losing who? Oh yeah,
the
DC for
he went to Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yep. That's for sure, because he was putting him in the position to get the most out of him rather than fitting him into, no pun intended, the box. Right? He's a player that you got to creatively utilize, not just sort of form fit him a bit. And he's a guy that could play a little bit like kind of old school. Do you remember Julian Peterson back in the day? I mean, he's kind of not got the size of him, but maybe you can move a little bit of early down linebacker, and eventually he can. Is there that upside to him? You've had a chance to see him. Can he do some rushing the passer at his size off the edge?
He did it at Clemson. I haven't seen much of it done with Baltimore, because he doesn't play a lot. He played a lot in the preseason. Well, he didn't play a lot in the preseason, because we had some UDFAs that played a lot more than him in the preseason. He kind of got the garbage time in preseason. So he's strictly a special teams guy, and if he has to play next year, he's gonna have to come a long way.
Okay,
he's gonna have to develop a lot over the course of a year. We did draft him.
At least it is that nice. You got Roquan there, so there's not going to be that pull to have to slide him into something that just is not a natural fit for. Because I think he can be pretty. If he can get the stuff locked down, he can be a pretty good.
With Roquan, if it looks like he has to play, I'm confident that Roquan will have him, not where he needs to be, but having him going in the right direction as far as teaching him what he needs to know and having him playing on the best of his ability.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Certainly, it's helped Mr. Queen next to him, hasn't it? To that point. Thank you, Seahawks Gaming, for that. Don't know. Primo, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, "What's up, Brando? How you doing, Primo? Was at the game Saturday next to Mr. and Mrs. Seahawk. Great seats, great game, and throwbacks looked amazing. You liking our throwbacks last week? You digging those jerseys?
I think you guys have the best jerseys, but not throwbacks.
No, you're not feeling the throwbacks. Okay,
no, they're not bad. My favorite jersey is that lime, that loud green.
The full on green?
Yes.
The neon
green
all the way down?
The neon
all the way down?
I love it.
Tips of the toes to the top of the hat? Okay.
I love it. I love it. That is my favorite. I think you guys have the best jerseys in the league, and I think that is my favorite jersey.
Oh,
that
man.
Green on green.
There's some split. There's some folks out there that start getting migraines when they see that green come on the screen. It's just too bright, man.
I don't have to watch it all the time, though. Like maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah, that's true. It just gets kind of sprinkled in. You get it once or twice, so you don't have it too much. But man, yeah, it can be sometimes real bright where you're like, Jesus, are they reflective? Keys to the game, asks Primo versus the Ravens. I'll give my quick little thoughts, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on keys against our team. I think that obviously we've got to, and we're going to talk about this a little bit with Lamar in a second. We've got to keep Lamar from kind of destroying us like he destroyed us a couple of years ago at home, where, he really controlled that game offensively against us, I thought. And defense played well too. It wasn't just he was superhero man at that game, but that was really him at the height of his powers, and us just running around and us slipping and falling all over the place. And it was a wet day. We've got to keep him controlled in this game. The rushing attack is something that you guys do stay committed to, but we've been good in every single game in stopping the run. It's something we had to deal with, but it's to me more of containing Lamar in here and not letting him go off and explode. And then defensively speaking, or, going up against your guys' defense, and offensively speaking, we've got to be, and watching it doesn't look like there's always a lot of opportunities deep with you guys dropping into coverage. It seems like we're going to have to be patient. We're going to have to move the chains. We're going to have to run the ball and be, if we get into, we've been in some troubleville here lately in that approach that happens with those defenses where they turn you one-dimensional, stop the run, turn you into a passing team. And now the front four starts to pin its ears back, and it just gets problematic more and more as the game goes along. It gets worse and worse and worse. And we've got to find the balance. Our ground game is just not, we've had the big plays. Walker will bust off a 45-yarder, but then there's just no holes. And the big part of that's been, we've been down 2, 3, 4, 5/5 of our offensive line in varying games throughout every single game this season. And so running the ball, maintaining balance, controlling the time of possession is going to be huge in this. I think that's not always one I'd lean to, but I feel like time of possession, this one is going to factor really big on who's kind of able to control things. How about you?
That's what I was going to say. My thing is going to be time of possession and not turning the ball over. Offense.
Yes.
Winning third downs.
Winning on third downs, which connects right back to that time of possession, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't, you're probably the same way. I wouldn't always say that as a key on all games, but on this one, especially on the road against the Lamar team and group, that they can do that. We're the same way. Our offenses are the same way. It's not built on us. We can't hit you deep. We can beat you, but it's more of like, we will kind of just move the chains and control the clock on you. So who does it better of the two that have that as their general philosophy offensively is probably who ends up winning out in this football game.
I think this is going to be one of those games where, and this is not always the case, but whoever has the most first downs is probably going to win.
I think that's an accurate way of putting it too. I think these all kind of connect together, be it controlling the clock, time of possession, most first down, third down conversion rates, as opposed to sometimes I think you'd say, we got to run the ball well today, or we got to go get turnovers, or we got to get some big plays. And I wouldn't say that today. This will be about who can be the patient team and stay in the pocket in their approach. Something I want to talk about with Lamar is that there was another change which you guys did. You guys kind of made two changes defensively and offensively, if I'm not mistaken. And if I'm talking out of school, please do correct me on this one because I don't want to say it wrong. We had a Wink Martindale blitz heavy scheme, send everybody cover zero blitzes, casino blitzes all day long. You're now going to more of the front four, dropping the coverage. Offensively, it seems like too, we go from Roman's offense, which was the Colin Kaepernick built, I'm going to turn my quarterback into a running back, and then we'll still operate offensively around that, but that's at the center of the universe here a little bit in our approach. Now let's have Lamar start to show the growth, be more of a pocket passer, hit your back foot, get that ball out of your hand. Is that a accurate assessment of that?
Very accurate. Very accurate. It's to the point. I feel like we are migrating to what is new football in a spread world, and we're still built in Roman's image. So we don't necessarily have all the pieces to be a fully modern NFL team or a spread NFL team. So we're trying to figure out who can do what and how well they can do that. And so we're hitting these patches of clunkiness, in Kurt Warner's word, clunkiness, to find this out. And so we're at a point where this is week 9 where we need to start looking a certain way. And I have an issue when it doesn't look a certain way. Not saying we should win every game or win every drive, but at this point in the season, it should look a certain way. And that's the issue I had with last week. Now, they may have been working on something because they may have said this Arizona, they only won one game. Let's work on something to try to throw off Seattle. They may have said that. I personally wouldn't look at it like this because it's the NFL. Everybody gets paid to play. You need to win this game first, and if you're blowing them out in the fourth quarter, then you work on something. But I just didn't like what I saw holistically Sunday. Now,
are they sliding into back to the old tendencies of Roman? Is that the cause of that?
No, it was like Arizona was dropping 8, and we were still trying to throw the ball into it. We had like I remember yelling in my stream, why are we throwing the ball? They had a 4-1 box. They had 4 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker, and we were still throwing the ball.
Whoa.
Out of 11
were you guys
personnel.
what were 11 personnel?
Yes. Now sometimes the tight end was detached, but it still was 11 personnel. 5 versus our 7, because we have a quarterback that can run.
Yeah.
We were still throwing the ball in that. And I was basically pulling my eyebrows out because I don't have hair on my head. Wondering why, and I was almost looking at it a little deeper later on, but I just couldn't. I don't know if he was working on stuff or what, but we are transitioning from what Roman was doing to a more modern NFL thing. And I think that'll extend Lamar's career, because what Roman was doing, Lamar wouldn't have lasted another 3 or 4 years. It was great to see. It was, it was fun for him to be able to his usage, but his body wouldn't have been able to take that punishment, because he's a competitor. His butt won't slide all the time, and he won't run out of bounds. And that he ain't finished the last 2 seasons. His body wasn't gonna hold up if we stayed with that style, and we probably stayed a year too long with Roman.
I agree on it. I kind of thought that the strategy, because the Ravens can be very, we've got our process in the front office and how we play it out, that there was going to be maybe a little bit of we'll use him up through the 5 years, let him go out, and then we'll just reverse this back over again. We'll go find another mobile quarterback, and then we'll stay in the pocket of this offense rather than paying him the big contract. I wondered if that, I'm glad they did pay him, and that they didn't go that cold-blooded approach, but it looked like that's where they were going, because like you say, this we saw with Cam. It ain't lasting for a long period of time if you're going to take this approach at the quarterback position. You get away with it for a while. You can get away with it for 5 years, 4 years, but eventually you're going to beat that guy down like a running back. That same shelf they fall off of due to the pounding and the beating and all that is the same shelf the quarterback who's used that way will also fall off. And,
exactly.
And so I think this was, if you're going to sign the contract, you had to do this change offensively. If you were going to say, okay, we're paying him, we got to go to and make him now more of a modernized in their approach. And it looks like he's buying in, which is the good part. He's back there.
He wanted to do that. He wanted to transition to this, and then now it's just getting on point with what, like, finding all the nuances in Todd's system, man. And I think Todd is trying to figure out what everybody's good at too, because there were some parts of Roman's game that probably should have stayed that we were good at. Yeah. And then figuring out what he was good at, because Todd last year was tight end heavy with the 2 tight ends at Georgia. So he had to kind of adjust to what he was doing. And everybody tried to say, well, he had Odell in Cleveland, and he should know. He didn't call the plays in Cleveland.
And they didn't
he was the OC, but the head coach called the plays.
And they didn't use Odell particularly well in Cleveland. Right? Like, that's not exactly like, we got to use him like they used him in Cleveland.
Right. And then he had Nick Chubb. I mean, who wouldn't want Nick Chubb? A healthy Nick Chubb at that.
Oh yeah.
You just hand it to that guy, and he's gonna do what it do.
Oh yeah, you don't even need any holes. You just shake guys off and find a way. I love Nick Chubb. He's been one of the better backs, I think, top 2 backs the last few years in the league. That's the one thing that happened with us with Russ, though, too. This is the interesting part to see with Lamar, in that we tried at the end with Russ go from more of that power run game, take big shots over the top when you draw the safety into the box to deal with the run. Very simplistic, very late 1980s offense was kind of our role for many years. And then we have modernized it now to this West Coast offense and, where it is. But, we did see with Russ on that. You see it again there with him in Denver as they try to continue that West Coast offense last year with Hackett, and even still to a small degree here with Peyton. He didn't ever really take to it being a mobile quarterback. But you do have confidence, and you do feel like Lamar, because with Russell, it was like falling back to those old habits. I'm going to pirouette around. I'm going to spin around the pocket. I'm going to extend the play. But you feel like with Lamar, no, there aren't those necessarily bad habits that are as ingrained, and he can.
He's trying. I can say that he's trying, because there were times Sunday I felt like, just run, man. But he was trying to stay there, trying to go through his reads and get the ball out. But there were times where I felt like he dropped back. The initial stuff wasn't open. They were only really rushing 3 at times. You had, a small country you could have ran through, and he stood back there trying to throw it. And, you got sacked a couple of times because of it. But I think he's trying to go through the process of boom, 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 get the ball out. And then just like let running be the last resort, because he can always fall back on it. So I think he's trying to work the system and learn it and get better at it, because he knows this stretch run, week 13, 14, 15 is what's going to really put us over the top to be ascending by the time we get to the playoffs.
And if he can get to the spot of playing in an on-time offense and executing that offense and then learning the moments where he can run, he's not to that spot where Cam was at the end, where he had lost the mobility, lost a couple steps, just couldn't run. He still can really be as fleet of foot. He doesn't look like he's lost anything at this point in his career. And so that becomes that much more deadly because you aren't leaning on it as much. And now maybe get defense not having a spy for you with the quarterback, because that guy's actually dropping into coverage. And now it's just free and steady as you go when you do want to cut it loose and get out there in the open field.
Right.
Megan with another donation. Thank you, Megan, for the $5 dono. Says, I take back the nice things I said about Coach. Highlighter green, migraine trigger. Like I said, man, this is what's got my fan base split. You got players that get the fan base split. We're split on the highlighter greens, man. We're definitely split on them. But the weird thing is we tend to be really good on them. So we're like 8-1 or something in them over the years. So we actually play well in them. And that's what they say, man, right? Like, look good, play good.
Hey, feel good. Yep.
Feel good, play good, feel good. That's right. But thank you, Megan. Indeed, Coach is big on the highlighters. Is the best he said best in the league, those highlighters. Ski Nation with a $10 donation, and he is in agreement with Coach Evans on this one. He says the full lime green is hands down the best. I wish I could sub to the Coach channel 10 more times. Brandon and all these Hawk fans are just haters. Laughing my ass off.
That's the split right there. That you just witnessed it.
Yeah. I want the throwback. That's my thing. I grew up on the throwbacks. I want my throwback over highlighter green. That's just.
But I do love your guys' throwbacks. But
I do. Yeah.
Houston's throwbacks, well, not Houston, Tennessee's throwbacks to the Houston Oilers. They took me back because love those. I'm a huge Steve McNair fan.
It's a little cold-blooded though that Tennessee's doing Houston like that though. It's
what? Did you see that?
It's a little cold. No, the uniform.
They didn't say anything to SMU.
They didn't say anything to SMU. What do you mean?
SMU had a similar jersey too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're talking about the University of Houston, right?
No. What I'm talking about is that you have the Oilers coming from Houston, and now you have Tennessee out there, and they're wearing throwbacks from the team. I know they were technically Oilers for like a year or two in Tennessee before they turned them to the Titans. But I'm kind of feeling like if there was throwbacks used by the Oilers, they should have been used by the Texans.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's a little bit disrespectful to the city of Houston wearing those out there in Tennessee a bit. Like you steal their team from them and then you're wearing their jersey. It's like my Sonics. It's like if Oklahoma City went out on one game in basketball and started wearing Sonics jerseys. And you'd be like, what?
I thought you meant what they did to the University of Houston.
Oh,
the University of Houston had a similar jersey to pay homage to the city of Houston.
Oh, okay.
And the Tennessee Titans sent them a cease and desist saying, don't wear them no more.
No, that's even 10 times. That's even more cold-blooded. Like, come on. That ain't right. That ain't yours. You stole the team. Haven't you done enough? Right? Didn't you do enough and just taking the team from the city? I know they got the Houston back, but like, it just feels a little bit like you're rubbing their face in it a little bit on that. I look good though. Don't get me wrong. I thought if I look at the throwbacks, the Eagles one, of course, still looks good to me. That takes me back. But the Oilers one that's a tight uniform, and it shouldn't be. Like you're talking about it. If you talk about like, well, it's got a oil pump on the side of the helmet, and it's got a light blue color scheme. Like what? What? But no, that was right there with the throwbacks for me on this past week. I dug those. I like those ones.
For the most part, they've done a good job with the throwbacks this year. For the most, they've picked some good ones.
They have.
The Bucks was okay too with I forget the color they call it, the creamsicles. Creamsicles weren't bad also.
They're all right. Yeah, they're okay. I all of them I liked. There hasn't been one I hated that was like, ugh, that's bad. And I think the NFL be smart to let them keep having these throughout the year where you mix it up a little bit and have these new uniforms in. Do your Ravens have an alt one? I know because it's a little bit, the newer thing. They've got kind of a.
Not to my knowledge that we have an alternate one. We have one that people hate. That's a Vegas gold one.
Oh, okay.
That people really hate.
Vegas gold.
I kind of like it a little bit when you pair it with a different color, but the Vegas gold top with the Vegas gold bottom is not a catchy one. But
no,
if you compare it with a black or a purple, you might can get away with it. But
yeah.
We kind of knew with 96, so yeah.
But you've had the same uni since that time, right?
It's varied a little. They've
Okay.
they've added a little moderation to it, but for the most part, it's the same jersey.
Made the beak sharper, the eyes a
Yeah,
little bigger.
yeah. Change the eyes on it.
Yeah.
Some little modifications.
Little
Nothing different.
You're almost maybe
No
due,
color
though.
scheme changes.
You're almost maybe due though. It may be all about time. They flip it out about every 20 years or so. So it's maybe about time to get a little. I like the colors though, and if you got black and purple, keep the gold as accent, right?
Mhm.
Those are tight enough colors on their own. Those look good no matter what. That stay with those, right? That's the better run. Thank you though, Ski, for that $10 donation. Coach appreciates the support there on the highlighter green love there. Wu-Tang Financial, thank you for the $5. Says a great talk so far. The Ravens have long been my AFC team. We got our work cut out for us against a true contender. No doubt about that, man. I think my Hawk fellow faithful have been speaking very much in the same manner about this game coming up, man, is that there's nothing but a lot of respect for your organization, a lot of respect for the players on this team and how you guys have built things up over there. And it's pretty uniform. You know this with fans on other teams. Everybody loves their fans and hates everybody else. But there's definitely been in discussions as we've leading up this week already. I see a lot of respect for your team and how they are put together. You guys are truly a contender out there in the AFC. And that's saying something, man, because that AFC is so bloody stacked.
Yeah, it's tough. The thing is, what I fear is whoever makes it out of the AFC just won't be healthy enough to win it. That's why I think whoever comes out the NFC has a great chance to be the champion, because whoever comes out the AFC is going to literally have to fight. Who it is.
Yeah, it's going to be a war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a theory. I call it the feast factor theory that I've worked on through the years. And that theory is to become a Super Bowl winning team, for the most part, you need to have a division that's not necessarily as strong. For instance, you need to have we like to think of iron on iron. Iron sharpens iron is what they like to say. And it's like, no, iron ends up bending iron in front of you. So you actually do need to have that feast factor. And my proof of this is go look at the AFC West, AFC East for 20 years there with Brady and company.
Mm-hmm.
They moonwalked their way through that division year after year, 6-0, 6-0, 6-0, 6-0, 6-0. And it allowed them then to prep up for the playoffs. You're week 15, you're playing the Jets. It's like a de facto bye for you and how you rest your players then up for that. Whereas like you say, to your point, the AFC, it's like you're going to need every one of those wins, especially if you're going to try to go get that number one bye, especially if you're going to try to just have the division with the three teams in your division. And I think that does wear you down a little bit. The fans like to think of it of like, yeah, let's earn our way. I want it to be hard. That's what they'll say. Like,
no, you don't.
Want it to be hard, but not too hard.
Right.
You might have your Ravens team could be a wild card team that would have been a number one seed maybe in the NFC.
The last Super Bowl was the wild card.
That's right. That's right.
Barely got in. Joe Flacco went on this miraculous run. Champions.
He went in that zone. He was in that zone there, wasn't he?
What?
He's in that weird place sometimes players get to where it's like, no, he's in a zone right now. He's just locked in. Foles was like that at that Eagles team a couple of years ago in the playoffs, where it's just like, what has got into this guy? Right. Where's this coming from?
Has Foles played a meaningful game since then? I can't. That's not a troll question.
I'm struggling to answer because he beat.
Oh,
he beat a.
I'm sorry.
That
was not a troll question.
He came in with Chicago 2 years ago and as a backup beat us.
My bad.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You didn't know. That was a tough one. So us made him look that way. We did, but no, he was in the zone, and it happens for quarterbacks sometimes. That's also the thing about being a team in the NFL here is that you don't want to peak too early. That's one thing I can say about both of our teams is we do find ourselves ahead. I hear you talk about the offense coming along and defense kind of finding its footing with this guy and the newer coordinator down there. I don't think either of our two teams have played their best football yet this year.
Agreed. I definitely agree that on our end. Offensively, we have not played the complete game yet. We've had a good run game. We've had a good game where we passed the ball. We've not played what we would look for as that game. Now, defensively, I think we have versus the Lions.
Yeah.
The Lions ran 9 plays and we're down 21 points.
You guys embarrassed them.
Yeah, so defensively, I think we've played that game. But the defense has been locked in a lot more than offense. But normally in football, the defense always is better than the offense, and the offense tends to catch up as the season goes on. But and really, and on your end, once JSN finds his niche, his role in my point of view, and I think with who was hurt the way he got his touchdown was DK.
DK was hurt last week a little bit. Yeah, he's been hurt
So
the
now
last couple weeks.
JSN was able to come in and do a little something. So now I think you guys will start to be even harder to guard because now you got to worry about all three of them for real now.
That's it.
And you can't forget about the back.
Nope.
And Geno's playing lights out still. And I knew about Geno and I was a fan of Geno, but when Geno said what he said last year, I like that dude. And I've been rooting for him since then.
Yeah.
Rooting for him since then. That quote and that the passion he said with it, and it wasn't necessarily the words, it was the look on his face and like he really believed it, and he, I just felt it. It's just one of the things that you felt. You believe a person when they say certain things, and it wasn't just him talking. And I'm rooting for that dude. I'm rooting for that guy to be successful because he done had a lot of stuff that not go his way. I'm rooting for that dude.
I ride with him as well. Another player that's a little bit in the Hawks contingent. I'm not going to lie that there's divisive opinion upon him, but I'm not that guy with it. I've loved what he's brought to the table, and not just for what he's brought to the table as a player, but as a leader, as in taking ownership's a mistake, and the drive that he has and the work ethic that he's brought to play. I mean, he's done everything you could want him to do from that standpoint of things since he's ascended from the quarterback. And it's been a breath of fresh air where it hasn't always been that way with us here in the 10 years prior on all of those things I just mentioned about. And I think he doesn't get a little bit of it at times, for instance, this year, even go back to week 13 of last year through this year, where there's been a bit of a dip in performance from those opening 12 games. And it's really on the back of the running game's not running competently where it's consistent at all. Your offensive line's not been pass protecting particularly well. And most of this year down 3/5, 4/5, 5/5, I think, is it fair for me to say, and again, you're an unbiased source on this, to say, look, a quarterback's going to often struggle when he's got 3/5 of his backup offensive lineman in there. And it doesn't matter whether it's him or Patrick Mahomes or a Tom Brady. Like, you put that up against a quarterback and you're going to see a lot more failure than you would have otherwise. Not that they need stars along the line or Pro Bowlers out there, but just the functional nature of an offensive line. That fair?
Check the Super Bowl. When check the Super Bowl when who was that? The Rams won. Kansas City was down 3 offensive starters on the line.
That's right.
Aaron Donald and crew went wild.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes, he still had Tyreek, if I'm not mistaken.
You're making Tampa Bay and Kansas City.
Tampa Bay. That's right. Tampa Bay. I'm sorry. They went wild on Kansas City. Went wild.
Yeah. And then Kansas City comes back and rebuilds their offensive line. Back to the Super Bowl. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and for the folks that are anti-Geno, I get I'm making no headway here. I even tried to do the Brady comparison. Brady goes to the Buccaneers, Ryan Jensen, Ali Marpet, Tristan Wirfs on the rookie, awesome offensive line, loses all 3 of those guys the next year from day one, huge dip in the performance. Yep. I don't think I get very far on this, though. I'm glad that resonates with you, but man, it's been a tough.
I think one of those guys there now, and they're horrible.
Yeah.
Out of those 5 guys that Tom Brady had, I think one left is worse, and they are horrible.
Yeah. Not the same player after that major injury he had. And that's part of why Tom chose that place, was he knew he was going to get that offensive line in front of him, and he knows the value of it. If anybody did, he did. So I think Geno's going to play better ball this year as he goes along and that line gets healthier. And Jackson, you're right, is going to get acclimated in this offense. We talked about DK's double teams. That specifically is going to open up the underneath part of the field then for that slot, because defenses can't cover everywhere. You leave an opening everywhere. Every scheme's going to have some vulnerability to it. And if you're going to double a guy over here, there's somewhere that's going to be much more likely to now open up on the backside to you to go to. So I think they'll find a way. It's been hard for us, like with you, though. We're moving to a different identity. We've been that 2 tight end, 3 tight end look last year. JSN now pulls those tight end sets off the field. So now you're trying to, what's our identity? We're more of the 2-3 tight end sets now. Now we're going to be more of the finessey 3 wide receiver things. And you're just trying to kind of find what your identity is offensively. But it's weird. We're kind of mirrors in a lot of ways. Our linebacker crews, the middle linebackers, and the offense is kind of having the same sort of situations going on at the same time a little bit. You
got similar personnel. As far as what they're trying to run out there now. I think your receiving set is a little better than ours, but I think we have the tight end advantage. Right now, I think you have the back advantage. I think we have the quarterback advantage, but it's still the way it looks on paper. You have your best lineup is 11 personnel. Yeah, it's not 12, it's not 21. It's 11 personnel with your quarterback doing stuff with his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's where they're driving to when it's all said and done. That's going to be the one that they lean to. But it is that transitionatory stage where you do have the tight ends that are good. You do have, we don't have the, you're right, we don't have that number one guy. We got three good guys though. So you have that it's really hard to go away from that. And we were the most efficient team by EPA early on this year out of 12 personnel. And so that's the other pull from it. And that's, you've been doing that too, because you're trying to protect the offensive lineman, backup offensive lineman in. So you're doing a lot of chip blocking and double teams out there to try to negate. So then that does pull JSN off to just to try to make sure you're keeping your line clean and gene clean. Megan, thank you for another $2 donation. Says throwbacks are death, B. Hey, I'm with you on this one, Megan. I'm all about the throwbacks. I love those throwbacks. But again, it takes me to my youth. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? It tickles you from that spot. And you go, wow, I like them. Thank you though, Megan. Appreciate your donations. And I'm with you 100%. Corey, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, who had a better trade, the Niners or the Hawks? Well, let's put it to Coach on that one. Which one are you taking of those two deals? If you could add one of those two guys to your team for the parameters of those two deals put up, which one are you going with?
I think it's you guys. Because Chase is, even though Chase kind of throws you back to that conversation we was having about Clowney. Had this college career and has all these expectations on him. And he really hasn't, well, he's been good, but he hasn't been what we thought he'd be.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Steady Eddie, what you got? Steady Eddie, what you got? You know what you're gonna get, and he's gonna pop off from time to time, but it's never a dip below a certain level.
Great point.
You got a consistent guy.
Yeah.
Chase, on the other hand, you might get explosion, then you might not see him for 3 weeks. Explosion, then you might not see him for a month. So I take the more consistent guy.
I'm with it. I think too, probably Chase, while he does give you that pass rush, maybe not the run defender. But is that fair to say of Leonard Williams on that side of it in general terms?
Yeah. Because you can get both from Williams. Chase will disappear.
Yeah.
And Chase, you might just end up running him out there on third down. But it's gonna be a little different in San Francisco because you got so many other guys to deal with that you may see a different guy.
Because he's not getting the other doubles.
Right.
Mostly gets the doubles and then he gets the single blocks and then let him roll. It
could be. You may see a different dude, and I may have to eat my words on that, but he didn't have that team of defensive linemen in New York with him. Thibodeau's good, and Sexy Dexy's good, but they not Bosa.
No,
we just leave it at Bosa. They not Bosa.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think he will probably be able to get some more single blocks, but hey, I mean, even in the Washington team, you've got Allen, you've got Montez Sweat, you've got Laron Payne. It's not like they're not probably driving their own share of double teams over there too, giving him some one-on-one opportunities even on that spot. Yeah. I was going to ask you a question. I just totally spaced it out. So I'm going to have to wait for it to pop back into my head. But yeah. Oh, you buying this with Leonard Williams? I look at him. He's played his whole career with the Jets. Adam Gase, Sam Darnold is his quarterback, goes to the Giants. Daniel Jones is his quarterback. Is there anything maybe to the fact this guy's played his whole career in Loserville and he now gets to go to Contender City and that there's maybe a fire that I know I'm speaking to something kind of ethereal here, but maybe there's a little bit of an extra fire that's born out of you're beaten down in those environments for so long that it starts to just by nature affect a little bit of your performance on the field.
I think that can ignite a different push in you, especially if you've been in the league for 4, 5, 6 years and you know it's not for long. You got your motivation is a little different to go get it right now because you never really know when it's going to be done.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's probably made. I know you can never have enough money, but you've made enough money. Now you want to win and have some kind of legacy about it. And I think he's probably at that point in his career because he's done nothing not him personally, but the teams have done nothing that he's been on. And so he's probably to the point where I want to win.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I'm hoping, and maybe it's a shooting on star part of this approach, but I have to feel like you get in those environments for so long. It's just, how do you not have that start to kind of bleed in over a little bit and that you lose a little bit of your fire? Cause it's just like, man, no matter what I do out here, I mean, especially defensively, because you go out there and ball out defensively and they're doing 3 and outs, and you get that third quarter and you're just wiped. You've been on the field the whole game and it doesn't matter that you're getting stops because your offense ain't scoring. They're not putting any points on the board. Right. It's just, you can't. Nobody's getting lied to out there. Daniel Jones ain't carrying this day for us. And
it's crazy when your running back is the leading receiver and rusher.
Oh, it is. And then they give the guy $45 million. That was the stupidest contract of the offseason that was given out to Daniel. Just absolutely asinine on their part. Like, why? For what? What has he done to? Huh? What'd you say?
Tyrod Taylor's played better.
Oh, I agree. Well, you could have just gone Tyrod, saved the $45 million, and built a stacked squad. And the thing with Daniel is that he had everything with what Daboll had done with him was manufacture and it's read option, one look and run. It's the most simplified nature of offense you could possibly run. And you went and said, that's $45 million to worth to go do. And I didn't even like Daniel coming out of the draft, to be honest with you. But I mean, he didn't show anything to do that. It's the thing with these guys, though, that I think your Ravens need to give that he had earned that contract. You give him that. But a lot of these contracts giving out these quarterbacks, like the Kyler Murray deals, it becomes this knee-jerk, you just got to do it thing, as opposed to let's really think this through if this is the smart role for us to go with.
Yeah, it is, because a lot of guys got money that probably didn't deserve it or didn't deserve that much.
A lot. A multitude of them. I'd say almost a majority of those guys up in the top 10 of salary, you go, and I don't think he ain't carrying any day. You're paying him like he can carry the day. He can't carry nothing. He needs a supporting cast around him. Jason Tudor, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, what does our insider think of my man, Will Levis?
You want to hear my nickname for Will Levis?
What's your nickname?
The Hellman's Hero. Something came out about the draft by him eating mayo on bananas or something, and
he puts mayonnaise in his coffee.
Yeah, something like that. And I just been calling him the Hellman's Hero since then. He had a great debut. So shouts out to him for throwing 4 touchdowns in his debut. But now there is tape on him. So let's see what he does when guys have a chance to prepare for him. And he still has the advantage because it's a short week. But let him get a game, 2-3 games on him, and let defenses have tape on him and see what kind of tendency he have. Then let's make a judgment on him. But shouts out to him. Great first game. Couldn't ask for anything better.
Especially because you look at it, the Tennessee Titans aren't a particularly stacked up squad offensively speaking right now. I mean, Tannehill came into that with 2 touchdown passes on the day, and he throws for 4. I don't think that he's suddenly going to be a new sensation on the deal and I've been a kind of a relatively pro Levis guy because again, my current development on this, and I know I'm pulling you real late on this, so we'll probably put a button on this pretty soon. But my real thing with this, I'd love to hear what your thoughts on this is that right now everybody likes to think of the quarterback, and you guys have kind of a cape flowing in the wind kind of guy. So that's what makes this ironic to bring this up to you. But everybody thinks the quarterback is just up there flying on the high, shooting laser beams out their eyes. You got to get the superhero guy. It's like Michael Jordan or LeBron in basketball with 5 guys. The other 4 guys don't matter. Just give them the ball out there and let them ISO it. Mm-hmm. And the sport doesn't really work that way. It is driven by your supporting cast. And you had Levis in his previous year at Kentucky before he loses some guys in the NFL, plays well last year, didn't play good, had nobody, no line, nobody to throw to, Rodriguez out half the year as the running back there. And I thought when you put him to a pros and he's now not dealing with that, it's like that old parachute they used to run on their back to train with. It's like you cut that parachute away and maybe he can now really go out there and start to really play well because it's what's inhibiting him. His troubles with pressure is being under too much pressure. Do you buy into that, or do you still think that there are those guys that they can carry it above and there's a good amount of them?
Well, I was not a Levis fan. I was not, but and that's a fair take because I didn't look at his film the year before. When I did my assessment of Will Levis, I looked at that last year and I saw exactly what you said, but I didn't take into consideration that the guys he lost or who was hurt. I just went off what I saw that last year, and so I was like, this dude's not very good. No, I didn't go back and look at his junior year, whatever the year before he came out with, whatever it was. So that's a fair assessment. And now, strong guy, strong arm, can move a little bit, which that's a huge thing for any quarterback right now because the days of the standstill quarterback are limited. Matthew Stafford, what's the Detroit Cousins, your days are numbered, fellas. Yeah. If you can't move a little bit, like Joe Burrow or Purdy, just enough to get you out of trouble, your days are limited. But Levis, if he can work with his cast, and if they can put a cast around him, he can be solid. What he showed me on that pass to Westbrook Akine opened my eyes to be like, hold on, I might have been wrong.
Yeah.
But he was rolling to his right, set his feet real quick, threw it across his body with arc over a defender to Westbrook Akine. I was like, hold on. That ain't the normal. That's different.
Yeah.
That's different because they had arc on it, it had touch, and it was across his body. So in actuality, it may have been a 30-yard throw, but really that probably was like 45 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of opened my eyes up to want to see more.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it. It's just we need to see more for sure from him. But I think you're right. He can succeed there. Vrabel, I think, will be a good coach for him because what Vrabel will do is keep him confined within an offense that will ask him to be balanced, and the passing attempts will probably be under 30 a game when this guy gets rolling, and that will put him on its best, because then defenses are not able to just lean on, eventually he'll throw us the ball, which I think will happen if you made him a 40 attempt a passer, 40 attempt a game kind of guy, even a couple of years down the line. I just don't think that's who Levis is, but keep him in the box, and he does have those things. And great point as well. The game's about mobile quarterbacks now. The days of the statue are going to go away. It's the last vestiges are sort of still here, just kind of, but it is quickly moving in this direction, and it's going to become a prerequisite. But thank you, Jason. Appreciate you for that. Mr. Kane, thank you for gifting 5 Hawks Nest memberships out here to the chat. You're very kind for doing so. I appreciate you for that, my man. Hope you're having a great night. Let's see where we're at here on the donos. Appreciate all the donos today, and you hanging in here with me, Coach. I appreciate you going long today.
No problem.
Looks like we've indeed caught on up. So thank you guys for all the donos, man. Mr. Kane, thank you for gifting those, gifted those subs over as you are, gifting those memberships over. We'll use the right terminology. Just last question on offense, and before we get to maybe where your predictions are in this game, Zay Flowers, big thing with him on coming out. He had echoes of Antonio Brown to his game, a guy that you did worry about with him coming out as good as he was. The two things I had as my points with him coming out was that, number one, when you put him on the outside, he can take a long time in his releases to get off the line of scrimmage. He wants to salsa dance, and then he's going to go to keep the contact off his body, and then the catch rate coming out of college. How have those two things gone with him?
Well, he has cut down on the saucing, mainly because he gets a lot of free releases. He gets a lot of free releases. I don't know if you paid attention to the little short motion that Miami has kind of made popular now.
Oh yeah.
But we are kind of doing that a little bit with him and putting him in motion, and nobody's really putting hands on him at the line of scrimmage. He's not doing all what the high school kids love to do at the line of scrimmage now. He's getting off the ball and getting where he needs to go and getting into his routes. His catch radius for his size, he made a catch Sunday, even though it was incomplete. I don't know how he went and got it. To be 5, and I know he's no more than 5'8".
5'8", yeah, he's 5'8".
No,
They lie at the combine too. They give him a little extra half, 3-4 inches of the combine. They do.
He looks like he should be handing in a paper to me at 7:30 in the morning. He don't look like he should be out there with some pros. But he's improved on all that. I really wanted the guy that you guys have, but I'm happy with who we got.
Yeah,
happy with who we got. So I'm content, and he's a lot better block. No, I'm gonna say better. He's a lot more willing blocker than I expected for his size, because he's a small guy. But anytime we have a nice run to his side, you see him either throwing his body in there trying to block, or actually technique up blocking a guy. It ain't just this big bump and get out the way and protect myself. He's actually blocking.
With those receivers, it's the will thing, right? As much as anything, sometimes. Do you want to actually? Because some of those guys show you they don't. They're not. They're going. They do that corner receiver thing before the game. Go, hey, look, bro, look. I don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. When it comes to running routes and stuff, we'll go hard on that. But otherwise, just let's put our hands up on each other's chest and let the boys inside handle business today.
I hate that.
I do too. I hate that too. It's one of the reasons I love DK. Is DK he's so mean and bullying out there. It's like good. I like that.
No block, no rock.
That's block, right.
No rock. I lived by it. If I told them cats, if you didn't block, I'd be damned if I call a play over there. I don't care who you. We'll throw it the right side all day long.
I hate softness in football when you see it obviously out there. And I don't think football players are soft. They're as hard as they come by. But you do occasionally see those guys out there that do the business decisions, and it doesn't. I don't like it, especially receivers. You go, man, if you just got that block in for 2 seconds, we had that JSN touchdown at the end of the game with us last week. And DK's down there on the bubble screen. He eliminates the guy. They're bringing a blitz. It becomes one-on-one between JSN and the safety trying to rally to get to the outside. And it's DK's block on that corner where a lot of receivers, they're just kind of not enough.
Chicken fight.
Yeah. The chicken fight. It's just a little slap fighting. Like, no. But that's good to hear. I think he's going to be a good player for you. I liked him a lot. I thought both in the case of him, Addison, Dell, all around going around the same direction of the last year's draft, that all those guys, though they're undersized, they get the job done. They're going to have a place in the pros. They're going to find they'll find consistency. They'll find some productivity. I don't know if it's stardom, but will find definitely being upper level solid players. Anything else on the offense we should be aware of that we didn't maybe cover on this? I know we didn't talk about a little bit of Rashad Bateman, the kid out of Minnesota, or Devin Duvernay, your Texas guy out there, your Yak kid. Anything worth speaking of those guys?
Duvernay is not worth talking about. He's going to catch he's going to field punts, and he's going to fair catch them, or he's going to catch them, run 3 yards and run out of bounds. Bateman is dealing with confidence issues that are coming back.
Okay.
If you get the old Rashad Bateman, it could be a good game for him, but he's working his way back to that. So we still really working with 3 guys. So the guy we really didn't talk about, which is probably the guy that you guys are gonna have to deal with the most, is Mark.
Yeah.
And so Mark's the number 1 receiver, the number 1 target. Third downs, you probably want to focus your coverage toward Mark Andrews. So that's where the ball is going.
Okay, well, and that's been where we've had some issues in the center of our defense, middle of the field of our defense. That's been the place where when offenses have had success this year, be it Goff or Stafford in the first game, it's attacking into the middle. And while a lot of those teams would use Amon St. Brown or it was Puka, you're going to be utilizing a tight end down there. But that's the place for your Baltimore offense. When I look at it, I don't think you're going to have a lot of yards to be gained there on the ground. I don't think you're going to be bad. We're going to be shut completely down. But it'll be one of those games where you're like, okay, we're at 3.9 yard per carry average. It's going to then come down to really you guys passing and hitting over the middle on those passes, moving the chains like you and I talked about. And I think Andrews is really the key. I know we didn't talk a lot about him. I love him as a player, great all around tight end, big as a house, but absolutely the guy that I think you could see coming out of this game with 12, 13 targets with Lamar down there. He already works them a lot. But in this game, especially by the nature of our defense, because we'll still cover deep. We'll still drop a lot of our zones into the depth and try to take away. It's a little bit drives me crazy. Our defense at times is that we're still very much predilected to trying to keep the deep ball removed. And you're seeing the 9 route and a lot of the deep balls across the league as a general trend go down because everything is get the ball in the guy's hands and let him go cook.
Right.
Let him go yak up.
But you guys got DBs now. I ain't crazy now. You got some DBs.
We got some nice DBs, man. Witherspoon's nice, man. Another guy. I was a Jalen Carter guy. I was all over the Jalen Carter. I knew there was a risk there, but Witherspoon has been amazing, man. You're going to like watching. I know he's on the opposition this week, but you're going to get a feel for this kid, and he's just a unique beast out there. But he's blowing us away. And yeah, we got a good. And that Andrews Jamal Adams matchup. That's what I think you're going to see a lot of in this game is those 2 guys going step for step. We'll see how Jamal can hold up.
I think Jamal's going to get up for it.
I think so too.
Hadn't played a lot of football in a while. Andrews is one of the better tight ends in the league. I think Jamal's a big game guy. I think he's going to get up for this one.
I do too. And he's looked pretty good so far for us coming back off that injury. I don't know if he's at what he was prior, but I don't see also a lost step in him where I'm like, oh man, he looks noticeably. I mean, you mentioned JK last year. He had one run, you'll probably remember, where he busted out like a 60-yard run. And halfway into the run, you could see him literally dragging his leg along on the run. Does that make does that? Yeah. And you're going, oh God. But then you're going, but he busted a 60-yarder out. You're going, I mean, like, it's amazing when you saw him doing that. But man, my heart goes out to JK because you guys had to wait on him on a couple of injuries there. And if you had him out there, I think that does change how dangerous your offense is and how, I mean, you're hard to deal with anyway, but that makes it into that place that we're trying to get to where you're almost impossible to deal with because you can do so many variety of different things and the defenses can't lean on that home run hitter.
Yeah.
You gotta have
play. Like I think I covered a little bit of you guys last year, and some of the big runs I saw with Kenneth were basic inside zone.
That's it.
But the O-line got a hat on a hat. He made one person miss, and he outran everybody.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff JK could do. Now with Gus, we got to kind of 6-yard you. Maybe we'll hit you with a 10. But with JK, those 6 could turn into 60. And that was with, like you said, with one leg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a great back. And I mean, imagine what happens if he does get back to having both legs, what he could be if you get him to the place where it is all healthy. But it's hard to win a game if you just have to grind. We're talking about grinding. I know we're talking about moving the chains being a big important part, but it is hard to win when you can't get a steal of 7 points here or there on one of those big time plays. And it is kind of almost a necessity you would hope to have in your offense. And that's the part where you guys probably are looking for that on your team. We've got that in ours, but we're not necessarily always utilizing in the best of ways, or just with us, we're not sure what to do. We're trying to be everything everywhere. We'll be a little bit of deep. We're going to be able to run. No, we're going to dink and dunk. No, we're going to try to utilize these fly sweep bubble screen elements. Oh, we want to go to 12 personnel. No. We want to go 11 personnel. We're kind of schizophrenic right now in what we're trying to do. And hopefully we can drive to a place where it's a little more certain by the end of the year in our identity. But it's going to be a hell of a matchup this year at week, man. I think we're going to get a great football game. I hope it's well officiated. That's been a bit of an issue throughout the league this year in some of these games.
Crazy.
Please, by God, just call it consistently the same throughout. Don't do the thing where you don't call a defensive holding play all day and then you call in the last drive of the game, here comes a defensive holding call, right? Set the standard on what you're going to call it up even, let the best team win,
That's it.
Stop with the nonsense. Some of these calls. I'm not saying I'm not the script guy. I ain't going overboard on, man, but come on, let the players play, man. Let them decide.
It's tough to play any sport when the rule changes because it's the end of the game or late in the game.
Yeah.
Like what's the foul in the first quarter, whether it be basketball or football, needs to be a foul in the fourth.
That's right. And honestly, if it's going to go away to change, which I'm not in favor of doing, like I say, I'm in that whole call it consistently. But if you're going to lean to a way of having it change at the end, we're down to the final drive, we're at the last possession in the NBA, then you swallow your whistle. That's the way you lean towards.
Mm-hmm.
And the past 2 Super Bowls have driven me crazy, where you have the Eagles and the Chiefs game. You don't have a defensive holding call the whole game. You call it at the end on the key play of the drive that would have shut the Chiefs down. The previous year, the Bengals and the Rams, Bengals get a stop against the Rams. You haven't called a defensive holding call in that game in the secondary throughout the whole game. And then you happen to call it there at the end. It's like, it looks suspicious. It looks really suspicious, man. Well, give me a final score here as we wrap this up today, Coach Evans. How's this going to play out? How's this going to go down?
Because of our inconsistencies offensively and the DBs. But I do love what we do defensively. 24-21 Ravens.
24-21 Ravens. I like it. I think that's a good way of putting it. I think that's even a good score. I'm going to go with 2017 Ravens. So I'm going to give you guys the nod in the same way. I go with a little less points. I think our defense is legit this year. I think the offense is still trying to find its way. And I think the way that's played out this year will play out very similar to this. Like you spoke about, there's some similar things with what you have on your team, though I think defense, we're kind of, it's again, that mirror image thing across the line. It's kind of weird. I hadn't thought about it as much prior to us doing this stream, but it really does feel that way now more as I kind of think about it. But I think it'll be a dogfight come down to the end. And I just think that at the end of the day, we just maybe don't have quite enough offense in this game on the road, 10 a.m. It's the edge. It's kind of what they say is that the home field advantage is worth 3 points. Everything's in a kind of a vacuum. And I think you got to give the 3 points, as these are even Steven teams. So you give the edge to the team that's at home here. I think that's a fair way of putting it on it.
The turnovers are going to play. If either one gets a little out of whack with the turnovers, that score can flip either way.
If we go to time of possession, turnovers is the 2 things that are the big things to come away with. You come with those 2 wins, either side of those teams, you're coming away with the win, bar none. I think we both agree on that.
I agree.
Well, it's always good to come some common ground. It's 2 different fans out here, my man, Coach. This is Coach Evans. He is out there with Sip2Tally Films. You can see it right there in his name if you search that in YouTube, or you can just click down. I put it in the description link in the section there. You can find a link right there to his channel. Go there today, please, my fellow Seahawks faithful Hawks Nest. You guys know how we do. We show the love in this chat. And by the love, what do I mean by that? You're going to go there and you're going to sub on up. So please, right now, go on out there to Sip2Tally Films, sub on up to his channel out there. Man, I really want to say thank you so very much for coming out on the channel today and doing what you're doing as you are and taking the time away. You are so busy. I know you're running around 24/7, tearing through tape, probably cut up the next video, getting ready for the next live stream. You're awesome for doing this, Coach, and taking the time. I took 2 hours of you out of it. So thank you. Thank you for hanging in there.
It was a good conversation. I do want to say this. If you don't know, you probably don't know. I have a second channel. It's called More Sip2Tally. If I'm not mistaken, my best video over there is that Tyreek Woolen video. So that shout out to the Seahawks fans. On that channel, I covered the other 31 teams, not the Ravens.
Yeah.
I'll go look at the numbers, but I think my best video over there is Tyreek Woolen.
Well, shout
out to the Hawks.
You're always going to do good with Seahawks videos, by the way. It's kind of a common theme out here that we have these channels that'll be channels that are not, they're just general football channels, and they will just hammer Hawk content because the people will show their love and they'll watch it. We voraciously eat anything up out there. So hopefully you guys do the same today for Coach. He's been really kind to come out here and take the time and really not just be rushed, but really take the time with me. Thank you for doing that. I like to go deep on this stuff, man. I love football and I love understanding how different other organizations operate because it just ends up making, your perspective that much more wider and better understood because we all get caught up on just looking through the lens of our own team and you can get a little bit lost in that. So what was that other channel? Let them know on that other one.
More Sip2Tally.
More Sip2Tally. More Sip2Tally. So let's get subbed up to both those channels, you guys. Hey, he's going to get some hot content out on that other side. So get a video out on the other side. Give us a Witherspoon video. You got them all in on that one, my man.
Most definitely. I appreciate you guys, man.
I appreciate you as well. I thank you so much for coming out here, and hopefully we can do this again. Maybe up around draft time or something. We'll chop it up with maybe some of the prospects. I go deep with it too. So I end up doing like 350 on my scouting on them, and I go hard on them. So I'd love to be able to, if we can maybe sync back up at that time and go through some of these guys, that'd be great.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm with it.
All right, man. Well, guys, get subbed up to his channel. Please hit the like button over here. Thank you to all the folks that donated to the channel. And Megan, thanks for putting me on here with Coach Evans as you did on your side of it. We'll be back here later tonight with the stream. But until that time, my fellow Seahawks faithful, please don't you ever forget, go Hawks. I'll let you get a go Ravens in too.
Flock Nation, go Ravens.